So here's the thing, I died. Drowned in a river while digging up wild vegetables in a rainstorm like the world's saddest salad enthusiast. And when I kicked the bucket, the whole village basically threw a party. Good riddance, they said. Lovely. But honestly, I get it. I was a nightmare. Years of raising 7 stepkids who weren't mine turned me into a fire-breathing dragon lady. Everyone hated me. My stepkids literally kicked me out of my own house. And for what? Because I gave up my entire life being a pushover for people who never even liked me. So as I'm dying, I'm thinking, if I ever get a do-over, I'm going full selfish mode. Me first. Me second. Me always. Then, plot twist, I woke up. Back in my old body. Back before the wedding that ruined my life. I'm reborn, baby. My mom is right there in my ear doing her classic guilt trip routine. Xiaowu, sweetie, you're ugly, you're 24, you're built like a refrigerator. Marrying your dead sister's husband is basically winning the lottery. Real motivational stuff, Mom. Thanks. See, my gorgeous older sister married this guy from the Mu family, a good family, with 2 actual salaried workers, which in our village is basically royalty. She popped out 7 kids, then died. Now Mom's bright idea is to ship me over there to be free childcare for a man who doesn't want me. Last time I said yes. Biggest mistake of my life. I went from being a single woman to instant mother of 7, and not one of those little gremlins ever called me Mom. With any warmth. This time? Absolutely not. I'd rather hang myself on their front door, I told Mom. Dramatic? Sure. Effective? Also yes. Mom tried the guilt angle. Think of your poor nieces and nephews. She tried the shame angle. You're embarrassing our family. She even went nuclear. Marry him or find a husband this month, or you're dead to us. My sister-in-law chimed in too, laughing. You? Find a man to marry into our family? Dream on. Look, I'll be honest, I'm no beauty queen. I look like my grandpa. I'm taller and buffer than most men in the village. People literally say I was born the wrong gender. I've been on the marriage market since 16, and 8 years later, the market has firmly rejected me. But here's where my big, beautiful reborn brain kicks in. I don't need a normal husband. There are plenty of those sent down intellectuals scattered around, educated city folks who got shipped to the countryside and are basically starving. Give one of them a hot meal and a roof and boom, instant live-in husband. No in-laws, no stepkids, no drama.
Mom thinks I'm delusional.
My sister-in-law is cackling. But me? I'm already scheming. This life, nobody is making me a free nanny. This life, I play for Team Me. Some people are just born unlucky. I'm Exhibit A. As a kid, my parents didn't love me. As a wife, last life, my in-laws didn't love me. After I raised 7 whole children, 7, they didn't love me either. I was the human equivalent of a participation trophy. Always there, never appreciated. I busted my butt for that family. I was both mom and dad to those kids. I had to be tough. If I wasn't, people would have picked our family clean like vultures on roadkill. But you know what happened? They kicked me out because I was too tough. Decades of sacrifice, erased by one complaint. She's too mean. Funny, right? I died in a ditch, and they lived happily ever after. Hilarious. So here I am, sitting by the river, chucking rocks into the water and thinking about my life plan. Living alone? Easy. I grew up in this village. I could sleep in a cave and eat wild vegetables and be perfectly fine. But here's the thing, I want a kid. A real one. My own flesh and blood. Last life, I raised 7 ungrateful brats who weren't mine, and not a single one gave a damn about me when I got old. I need to test a theory. Is it because they weren't my biological kids? Or am I just that bad at parenting? To have a baby, I need a man. And finding a man the normal way? That's been a disaster for 8 years. Nobody wants to marry the village's resident female bodybuilder. So I came up with a genius plan. I'll just grab one. There's a whole cowshed full of sent-down intellectuals, city guys who got shipped here for re-education. They're starving, miserable, and sleeping 20-something deep in a room that smells like, well, cows. I happen to know from my past life that 4 of the 7 new ones are going to die anyway, 1 from hunger, 1 from sickness, 1 vanishes in the mountains, and 1 gets beaten to death. So really, I'm doing a rescue mission. I'm basically a humanitarian. That evening, I marched straight to the cow shed. When I stood in the doorway, I literally blocked out the light. Every single person inside froze and stared at me like I was a bear that had learned to walk upright.
Who are you?
What do you want? Some old guy yelled, grabbing a stick. Time for my legendary introduction. I'm Xiaowu. Yeah, that Xiaowu, the one people say is prettier than most men. That's village code for looks like a dude, comma. I need a man to have babies with. Any volunteers come with me? Dead. Silence. I swear you could hear a cricket having an existential crisis. I sweeten the deal. Look, I know your backgrounds are problematic. I don't care. My family's been poor for generations. My record is spotless. I earn more work points than most men in this village. You come home with me, you eat real food. That's the offer. One young guy finally spoke. Can we? Think about it. Sure. But nobody over 30. I'm in my 20s. I have standards. I'll come back tomorrow. I left them to discuss. And oh boy, did they discuss. From what I heard later, the shed basically split into two camps. Camp 1, this is our ticket out of this hellhole. Camp 2, she wants to use us. This is degrading. Old Man Gu, the unofficial leader of the shed, tried to talk sense. She works harder than any man in the village. She can absolutely feed a family. This is a chance to survive. But some guys couldn't get past it. Sleep with her? I'd have nightmares. This is selling our bodies. She could literally slap us to death if she got angry, and then Old Man Gu asked the million-dollar question. So, who's willing to go? Silence. Again. Turns out choosing between survival and dignity is harder than it sounds. Meanwhile, I went home and slept like a baby. They'll come around. When you're starving in a cow shed, pride has an expiration date. Before I even told my family anything, I went straight to the village chief. Why argue with mom when you can go over her head? Chief, I want to marry a man from the cow shed. The man nearly dropped his tea. See, he'd already heard the family gossip that I was supposed to marry my dead sister's husband, become instant mommy to 7 kids, the whole tragic package. He knew the Mu family was considered the village equivalent of marrying into money. 2 salaried workers. Public grain. A golden ticket. And here I am saying, nah, I'd rather pick a starving prisoner. He tried to talk me out of it, bless his heart. Xiaowu, those people have bad backgrounds. They can't help you. You'd carry the whole family on your back. Why not try the educated youth first? Or find some local guy willing to marry in? I laid it out for him. Chief, if local guys were an option, I'd have been married 8 years ago. Nobody normal wants to marry into a woman's family. Nobody normal wants to marry me, period. But a starving man in a cow shed? That's a negotiation I can win. He puffed on his pipe. I could practically see the math happening in his brain. I don't need a provider, I continued. I just need someone who can help me make a baby. That's the whole job description. I gotta say, I really impress myself with my own brain sometimes. People think just because I never went to school, I'm dumb. I'm not dumb.
I'm efficient.
The chief was still hesitating, so I played my trump card. If my family won't let me stay at home and the village won't accept us, I'll just move to another village. I've got the strength, I can eat anywhere. That got his attention real quick. See, I'm the village's top worker. My work points are higher than anyone else's, man or woman. Losing me would be like a factory losing its best machine. The chief wasn't about to let his star employee walk. Now hold on, he said, suddenly very cooperative. No need to leave. If you really want to bring a husband home, I'll get you a plot of land. We'll get the guys to help you build a house. Boom. Land and a house. Now we're talking. He even offered to go to the cow shed himself to screen candidates. I've got more experience judging people than you, he said. Let me check their character first. Fine by me. Only requirement. Under 30. That's not enough of a requirement. Let me vet them properly. Honestly, having the chief do my husband shopping for me is a massive upgrade from my original plan of just pointing at someone and saying you come. This way it's official. Professional even. Like a very sad dating service run by a man who smells like pipe tobacco. Before I left, I also asked him about empty houses in the village. Because here's another lesson from my past life. Once I marry, living with my birth family is a recipe for drama. My family? Not great people, it turns out. Last life, when my stepkids threw me out, I went crawling back to my parents' house. Not a single relative took my side. I ended up living in a literal cave before I died. A cave. Like a bear. A sad, elderly bear. This time, I'm getting my own house. In my name. And it stays mine forever. I'm not signing anything over to anyone. Not a husband, not future kids, nobody. My stuff is my stuff, in this life and the next. The chief agreed to everything. We shook on it. Walking home, I felt something I hadn't felt in 2 lifetimes. Hope. And also hunger. But mostly hope. So apparently, most of the cowshed guys thought I was joking. They went right to sleep after my big recruitment speech. Not a single one lost a wink of sleep over the opportunity of a lifetime.
Rude.
But the next morning, the village chief showed up at the crack of dawn to make it official. Xiaowu wants a husband. Any takers? He even tried to soften my image. She doesn't exactly match conventional beauty standards. Translation: she looks like she could bench press a water buffalo. Everyone in the room knew exactly what he meant. And the response? Crickets. Absolute crickets. Except for one guy, Ning Bucuo. I'll do it, he said. But can I bring someone? The chief's eyebrow went up. Who? My little brother. He's 5. The chief sighed so hard I think he aged a year. Son, you can barely keep yourself alive. Who's going to want an extra mouth to feed? Everyone shook their heads. Even the other cowshed guys were like, bro, read the room, but Ning Bucuo wouldn't back down. Just ask her? Maybe she'll say yes. The chief left, promising to come back that evening to check if anyone else had grown a spine. Meanwhile, I was already out in the mountains chopping down trees for my future house, because I don't waste time. I had a machete in one hand and a life plan in the other. That's when Ning Bucuo appeared behind me like a lost puppy. Xiaowu, can we talk? I turned around with a giant knife in my hand. His eyes went the size of dinner plates. Very encouraging start to a relationship.
I
was worried about your safety. Alone in the mountains and all. I gave him my best dead-eyed stare. Worry about yourself. But the man was desperate. He stammered his way to the point. I'll be your husband. I'll do whatever you say. East, west, north, south, you point, I walk.
Just.
Please let me bring my little brother. He's 5. He barely eats. He can take care of himself. Absolutely not, I snapped. I am done raising other people's kids. That was my entire last life, and it was a disaster. This was my whole thing. My one rule. No more playing mommy to children who aren't mine. But then this man, this skinny, desperate, half-starved man, dropped to his knees. Right there on the rocky ground. I could practically hear his kneecaps cracking. Please. I'm begging you. Just give me a chance. And something inside me cracked a little. I thought about my past life. About being old and homeless, begging my stepkids to let me stay. About how if just one of those ungrateful brats had shown me a shred of mercy, maybe I wouldn't have died alone in a cave. Here was a man on his knees, asking for exactly what I once begged for, just a chance. Just a little kindness. Was I really going to become the same kind of heartless person who destroyed me? I stood there, machete in hand, jaw clenched, fighting a war between my brain, which was screaming, and no more other people's kids, and whatever was left of my stupid, stubborn heart. Finally, I said, if nobody better shows up by tonight, I'll pick you. Not exactly a hallmark moment. But hey, maybe not everyone in this world is an ungrateful backstabber. Maybe some people actually remember when you're kind to them. Or maybe I'm an idiot making the same mistake twice. Guess we'll find out. Turns out, Ning Bucuo is sneakier than he looks. See, after the chief made his official visit that morning, it wasn't just Ning Bucuo who was interested. 3 other guys in the cow shed were also tempted. They were just playing hard to get, holding out, hoping to squeeze some extra perks out of the deal before committing. But my boy Ning? He didn't wait around. The second work ended, he announced loudly so everyone could hear. Old man Gu, it's settled. He's Xiaowu, and I already worked it out at lunch. I'm packing my stuff tonight. Smooth. Very smooth. Old Man Gu raised an eyebrow. When did you two talk? While she was chopping trees on the mountain. She agreed to take me and my brother. Now, technically, I hadn't fully agreed. I said he was my backup plan. But Ning Bucuo was out here acting like we'd already exchanged rings and picked out baby names.
And you know what? It worked.
The other three guys who were interested suddenly couldn't speak up. Because in their minds, competing with another man over who gets to marry into a woman's family? The humiliation. Two men fighting over an ugly farm girl? Their precious intellectual pride couldn't handle it. These guys crack me up. They're literally sleeping in cow manure, but somehow they still have enough ego to worry about dignity. They tried a different strategy, trash-talking me to make Ning Bucuo give up. She's so ugly, dude. She could kill you with one slap. Your future kids will be ugly too. Ning Bucuo just smiled. An actual smile. You're talking to me about the future? About children? A week ago, I didn't think I'd survive the month. Ugly kids sounds like a luxury problem. Then he hit them with the line of the century. When survival is the question, looks were never the answer. Dang. Pretty poetic for a starving guy in a cow shed. Old Man Gu backed him up. Don't judge a book by its cover, which is both good advice and also exactly what you'd say about someone who looks like me. That evening, the chief came back. Ning Bucuo spoke up first, again, before anyone else could open their mouths. The other guys hesitated, and the moment passed. Nobody else volunteered. The chief came to find me afterward. Good news. Ning Bucuo says yes. Bad news. He comes with a 5-year-old brother. Seriously? Nobody else. The others had considerations. The chief gave me a look, and even though I never went to school, I understood perfectly. Those other guys didn't step forward because they were already planning their exit. They'd marry me, eat my food, and the second they got rehabilitated, they'd vanish back to the city like I never existed. At least Ning Bucuo was honest about what he wanted. He wasn't pretending to be noble. He was a desperate man trying to save his little brother. And honestly, a man who'd kneel on rocks for a 5-year-old is probably not going to be the worst husband in the world. The chief basically spelled it out. The ones who hesitate have their own agenda. The one who jumped first has something to protect. Take the sure thing. Smart man, that chief. Fine, I said. He's the one. My requirements were simple anyway. I just needed someone who could give me a baby. Men are all basically the same with the lights off, right? So that's how I picked my husband. Not through romance, not through matchmaking, not through love at first sight. Through a competitive bidding process in a cow shed where I was the only buyer and the merchandise came with a free kindergartner. This is fine. Everything is fine. The chief warned me, your family is going to lose their minds. Yeah, no kidding. But here's the thing about being reborn. I already lived through a lifetime of doing what everyone else wanted, and it got me dead in a ditch. So this time, I do what I want, and everyone else can cry about it. The chief tried one more time to guilt me about my dead sister's kids. Those 7 children are so pitiful. I shut that down fast. Pitiful? Their dad is a salaried worker. They eat better than half the village. You know what's pitiful? Being a stepmom. You do everything right and everyone still calls you evil. You try to get the kids to help around the house, and suddenly you're the villain. Oh, the cruel stepmother is making them do chores. Those kids need a nanny, not a wife. And I am not a nanny. Then I hit him with the real talk. Chief, if I were your daughter, would you send me to be a stepmom to 7 kids for a man who doesn't even like me? I may be ugly, but can I at least dream of a husband who actually wants me? He went quiet after that. Even sighed.
Victory.
Before I left, he brought up money, or rather, my complete lack of it. I'd been handing over all my work points to the family pot for years. I didn't have half a cent to my name. And setting up a new household needs stuff. Pots, pans, tools. You can't even buy a cooking pot without a ration ticket these days. But I've got a secret weapon from my past life. I know about a hidden cave in the mountains behind our village. Japanese soldiers left a stash of treasure there during the war. Gold bars, big yellow fish, as people call them. Last life, I only heard about it after I'd already married into the Mu family. This life, I'm raiding that cave first. I told the chief not to worry about money. He looked skeptical. Fair enough. A broke, unmarried farm girl saying, "I've got a plan," doesn't exactly inspire confidence. But he doesn't know I'm working with cheat codes from the future. That evening, I walked into dinner and detonated a nuclear bomb. "Mom, I found a man who wants to marry me." Every single chopstick at the table froze midair. You could have heard a grain of rice drop. Mom's jaw practically unhinged. "You found a man? Where?" "The cow shed. He's going to marry into our family." If the first bomb was nuclear, this one was thermonuclear. "Absolutely not. Dad," Hidju slammed the table so hard the bowls rattled. "Those people are class enemies. Our family has a clean record. Generations of honest poor peasants. We cannot associate with those people." I had my answer ready. "Relax. He's marrying into my household, not yours. We'll split the family registry first. He goes on my papers. It has nothing to do with you."
Zero. Zilch.
"You wanted me to find a husband this month? Problem solved." "You're welcome." Mom tried a different angle. "Those cowshed people do the hardest work for the lowest pay. He can barely feed himself. You'll have a terrible life." I looked her dead in the eye and said, "He just needs to be able to make babies with me. That's it. That's the job." The silence. You'd think I'd announced I was joining the circus. A 24-year-old unmarried woman talking about making babies at the dinner table, like she's discussing the weather. Scandalous?
Sure.
Did I care? Not even a little. Dad slammed the table again. "You've gone crazy. I'm getting married whether you agree or not. And if you try to stop me..." I pulled out my ultimate weapon. "I'll just crawl into bed with him tonight. Then you'll have to let me marry him, won't you?" Dad looked like he was about to have a stroke. Mom's face turned 3 different colors. My sister-in-law was trying to become invisible. But what were they going to do? Beat me? I've been bigger than everyone in this family since I was 10. Ground me? I earn more work points than all of them combined. Kick me out? That's literally what I want. I already talked to the chief. I'm getting my own plot of land, my own house, my own life.
Check. And mate.
Mom noticed I'd changed. The old Xiaowu just kept her head down and worked. The new Xiaowu? The new Xiaowu has zero fear and absolutely no chill. When the chief came over to formally discuss the marriage, my family put on their ugliest faces. Not a single smile in the room. You'd think he announced a funeral, not a wedding. But I had my ultimate weapon locked and loaded. You don't agree?
Fine.
I'll just crawl into bed with him tonight. Then you'll have to agree. And if the whole family gets dragged down because of it, well, you push me to this." The chief, bless him, tried to smooth things over. He actually made a surprisingly clever argument about Ning Bucuo's little brother. That kid is actually a good thing. A man with someone to protect won't do anything reckless. He's got a weakness, his brother. That means Xiaowu has leverage. He'll do whatever she says because he can't afford to mess up. A man with nothing to lose? That's dangerous. Honestly, not bad logic.
I was almost impressed.
Mom tried. "He's bringing a child. One child." I fired back. "My brother-in-law comes with 7. You want to compare math? Those are your sister's children. Your own nephews. And they're still not mine. I didn't birth them. Last time I checked, ungrateful is ungrateful whether they share your blood or not." I bit my tongue before I said more. In my past life, those 7 beloved nephews threw me out like garbage. "But sure, Mom, tell me more about family loyalty." Then Mom went nuclear, on me personally. "You're so ugly that any baby you have will be ugly too. They'll never find a spouse. Why even bother having your own children? Your own mother, ladies and gentlemen. Telling you not to reproduce because you're too ugly. Mother of the Year material right here."
I don't care, I said.
And you know what? I just won't let my kids get married at all. Problem solved. No spouse means no ungrateful in-laws. No forgetting about Mom. Brilliant plan, actually. Yes, I know that's insane logic. But I was on a roll. Mom pulled out her favorite card. "If you marry that man, I won't recognize you as my daughter." And here's where old Xiaowu would have crumbled. Old Xiaowu spent her whole life desperate for her mother's love. At 1, at 10, at 70. "But I've already died, Mom." I died alone in a rainstorm, and not one of you shed a tear. You're not recognizing me, threat? I lived through the reality of that. It killed me.
Literally.
So I looked her right in the eye and said, then don't recognize me. Write up a document cutting ties. I'll sign it today. You don't want me when I refuse to marry. You don't want me when I choose my own husband. The only version of me you want is the one who does exactly what you say. That version is dead. Mom turned to the chief, desperate. Aren't you going to do something? The chief looked away. What was he supposed to do? I'm the hardest worker in the entire village. My work points are higher than everyone else in this household. If anything, they should be begging me to stay. The chief tried one last thing, asking my family to at least give me something as I left. A little money, some supplies, anything. My brother, Xiaowu, jumped in fast. She gets nothing. Not a single thing from this house. Mom backed him up. Let her suffer out there. Once she's had enough hardship, she'll come crawling back and realize how good family is. Dad agreed. If she'd married into the Move family like we wanted, we'd have given her a dowry. She wants to be stubborn? She leaves empty-handed. The chief wanted to mention my work points. Years of labor I'd contributed to this family, but he could see it was pointless. These people would rather lose their best worker than admit I had a right to choose my own life. Fine, I said calmly.
Keep everything.
Just split my household registration. They thought they were punishing me. They had no idea I was sitting on the location of a hidden cave full of Japanese war gold. I asked the chief to lend me some money, just for appearances. Can't exactly show up with gold bars and not raise questions. He agreed to discuss it privately. Walking out of that house, I felt lighter than I had in 2 lifetimes. My family gave me nothing? Good. Now I owe them nothing. Funny thing is, they think I'll come crawling back once life gets hard. They don't realize that hard, for me, was dying alone in a cave at 70 after raising 7 kids who hated me. Everything from here on out is an upgrade. News travels fast in a small village. Within a day, everyone knew about me and Ning Bucuo. The reviews were not great. Xiaowu's so desperate for a man, she went shopping at the cowshed. That cowshed guy is so desperate for food, he's marrying a woman who looks like a truck. Real supportive community we've got here. Did I care? Not even slightly. I had bigger things to deal with, like building a house with my bare hands. The chief gave me a plot of land on the edge of the village, away from most people. Partly for privacy, partly because Ning Bucuo's bad background made him radioactive to the neighbors. 2 wooden rooms plus a kitchen. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. A few days in, I snuck into the mountains after work to find the treasure cave. The one with the Japanese war gold. My secret retirement fund from the future. I found it, and
Oh my God.
boxes of gold bars, little yellow fish, plus antique paintings, jewelry, calligraphy. Enough to make me rich in any era. I was practically drooling. I'm rich. I'm actually rich. But then my greedy brain kicked in. I came for 1 or 2 gold bars. But looking at all of it, I wanted everything. The problem was where to hide it. This is the era where having nice things gets you labeled a capitalist and dragged to a struggle session. I couldn't exactly stack gold bars in my empty shack. While I was scheming, I pricked my finger on a nail sticking out of one of the boxes. A few drops of blood fell onto a ring sitting in the pile. The ring flashed red. I didn't notice. I was too busy having a mental breakdown about storage logistics. Where am I going to put all this? And then the treasure vanished. All of it. Every box, every gold bar, every painting.
Gone. Poof.
Like it was never there. I stared at the empty cave. Ghost. There's a ghost. Reader, I peed myself. I am not too proud to admit this. I am a 70-year-old woman in a 24-year-old body, and I believe in ghosts with my whole chest. I dropped to my knees immediately. Full kowtow. Face on the ground. Great spirit. Mighty ghost. I didn't mean to trespass. Please spare my miserable life. I knelt there for 30 minutes. 30 minutes. On a cold cave floor. Waiting for a ghost to either forgive me or eat me. Nothing happened. No ghost. No voice. No spooky wind. Just me, on my knees, in an empty cave, talking to nobody. Eventually, I crept backward out of the cave like a terrified crab and sprinted down the mountain. Full speed. Didn't stop until I was home with the door locked. My heart was still pounding when I noticed something. There was a ring on my finger. A ring that was not there before. Ghost God, did you follow me home? The urge to pee returned with a vengeance. I searched every corner of my empty little shack.
No ghost. No shadow. No creepy whispers.
Just me and my racing heartbeat and a mysterious ring that appeared out of nowhere. I waited 10 minutes. Nothing. I was on the verge of tears. Was I going crazy? Was this whole rebirth thing just a dream? I slapped myself in the face to check.
Ow.
Nope, definitely real. Then, while I was sitting there spiraling about gold and ghosts, the ring flashed red again, and I teleported. 1 second I'm in my shack. The next second I'm standing in a cave. Not the treasure cave, the cave from my past life. The sad little hole where 70-year-old me lived before dying. Except now it was filled with all the treasure. Every single box. Every gold bar. Everything from the mountain cave was here.
What is
happening? I thought about my shack, whoosh, back in my shack. I thought about the cave, whoosh, back in the cave with the gold. Back and forth.
Shack. Cave. Shack. Cave.
Now, a normal young person might recognize this as a portable storage space, the kind of thing you read about in fantasy novels. But I'm a reborn old lady who never watched TV or read books. I had no frame of reference for this. As far as I knew, a very generous ghost was playing a very confusing game with me. So, what did I do with this earth-shattering magical discovery? I played with it like a toy. All night. Teleporting in and out like a kid who just discovered a light switch.
In, out, in, out.
Giggling in the dark like a maniac until the sun came up. I went from, I'm going to die alone and broke, to, I have a magic ring, a cave full of gold, and a teleportation power in the span of one evening. This rebirth thing is getting wild. After playing teleportation ping pong all night, I finally figured out how my magic ring works. It's basically a key to a private pocket dimension, a secret cave that only I can access. And all that Japanese treasure? It's sitting in there, safe and sound, waiting for me. How did I get this power?
Honestly, no clue.
Best theory. God looked at my past life, the thankless parenting, the ungrateful stepkids, the dying alone in a rainstorm thing, and said, you know what? This woman has suffered enough. Give her the magic ring. And I'm not about to argue with God's customer service department. I'm rich. I screamed into my empty shack, alone, at dawn, like a lunatic. Boxes of gold bars. More money than I'd ever seen in 70-plus years of living. And it's all mine. But I couldn't just waltz into the black market with gold bars. That's how you get labeled a capitalist element and end up in your own cow shed. So I played it cool. Built my walls first, asked questions later. The magic cave turned out to be the greatest home improvement tool in history. Need heavy stone slabs for a path. Pick them up at the river, toss them into the cave, teleport home, pull them out. No carrying, no cart, no help needed. I was basically a one-woman construction crew with a cheat code. Within days, my empty plot of land had a wall, stone pathways, and a proper yard. When the chief came by, his jaw nearly hit the floor. Did you hire help? I changed the subject real fast. So, Chief, what brings you here? He wanted to talk about the wedding. Fair enough. I had a whole fiancé sitting in a cow shed waiting for me to bring him home, and I'd been too busy playing architect to remember. 5 days, I told him. No big ceremony. He moves his stuff in, I hand out some candy in the village, done. The chief asked if I needed anything. I said no, which was technically the biggest lie of my life, because I was sitting on enough gold to buy the entire village. But wealth stays hidden is rule number 1 when you're a secret millionaire in communist China. On the way to town, riding the village tractor, very glamorous, the village aunties started grilling me about the wedding. So you're really marrying the cowshed guy? Yep. I need a man to make babies with. No blushing.
Nos Chinese.
Just straight facts. The aunties loved it. I talked about reproduction the way normal people talk about the weather. But in my head, I'm a 70-year-old grandma. This stuff stopped being embarrassing about 50 years ago. With your build, you'll pop out babies no problem, one auntie laughed, slapping my arm. And that's when the smile froze on my face. Because here's the thing I'd been trying not to think about. In my past life, I was married for decades and never got pregnant. Not once. My ex-husband had 7 kids already, so it obviously wasn't his equipment that was broken.
So, was it me?
Was I unable to have children? The whole point of this rebirth plan was to have my own baby. If I couldn't conceive, then what was any of this for? Auntie, can I really have babies? I asked, and for the first time since being reborn, I actually sounded vulnerable. Now here's the thing that my reborn brain still hadn't figured out, and honestly, I want to smack myself for this. My ex-husband already had 7 kids who looked nothing like me. He thought I was ugly. He married me because his mom forced it. The man probably made sure I never got pregnant. Why risk having a kid that looks like me when he already had 7 perfectly good ones? It wasn't that I couldn't have babies. It was that he didn't want to make one with me. But did I realize this? Nope. Not yet. Sometimes being reborn doesn't make you smarter. It just makes you anxious with better context. One of the trendier aunties suggested I get a pre-marriage medical checkup in town. Apparently some woman in a nearby village turned out to be unable to conceive, and ever since then, everyone's been obsessed with pre-wedding exams. Good idea, actually. At least I'd know for sure before the wedding whether my baby-making factory was open for business. Off to town we go. Secret gold in my magic ring, anxiety in my heart, and zero shame on my face. Just another day in my ridiculous second life. The black market and I are old friends. Well, OLD me was old friends with it. In my past life, I went there plenty of times to buy stuff for the family. This life, my body's never been, but my brain knows the place like the back of my hand. I pulled out 2 small gold bars, about 20 grams total, and played it cool. Family heirloom. Times are tough. What's your rate? The dealer flashed an 8 yuan per gram. Was that good? Was that terrible? Honestly, I had no idea what gold was worth right now, but I didn't need gold. I needed cash. 2 bars, 2,000 yuan.
Done.
2,000 yuan. In this era, that's an absolute fortune. Most people don't see that kind of money in years. But I didn't stop at cash. I also grabbed ration tickets, cloth tickets, sugar tickets, industrial tickets, meat tickets, grain tickets. My future husband was skin and bones from a year of cowshed dining, and I needed to fatten him up before. Baby-making operations commenced. Can't run a factory on an empty tank. I went on a shopping spree. Fabric for clothes, pots and pans, bowls, shoes, everything a new household needs. My basket was overflowing by the time I climbed back onto the village tractor for the ride home. And that's when the interrogation began. Xiaowu, that's a lot of stuff. Where'd you get the money? I had my cover story locked and loaded. Oh, you know that river, Little East River. I was picking up stones for my yard, and I found a gold nugget at the bottom. Just pure luck. This wasn't even that unbelievable. Years ago, some old landlord supposedly hid gold in that river, and a couple of villagers had actually found small pieces before. It was practically local legend. The auntie's eyes went wide. Which river? Little East River? Really? I could already see them planning their treasure hunting expeditions. Sorry, ladies. That river's got nothing. But you'll have fun looking. Then I had a stroke of genius. A real stroke of genius. Actually, I said, tapping my chin thoughtfully, I think it might be my fiancé's luck, not mine. I've been in that river 100 times and never found anything. But the moment I'm engaged to Ning Bucuo, gold nugget. I think he might be one of those lucky for the wife types. The aunties gasped. In village culture, a man who brings luck to his wife is basically a golden goose. People eat this stuff up. You think he's really lucky for you. Has to be. I mean, look at the evidence. Single for 24 years, nothing. Engaged for 1 week, gold. I said it with such conviction that I almost believed it myself. And here's the beautiful part. From now on, whenever something good happens to me, and trust me, With a cave full of treasure, good things are going to keep happening. I just point at Ning Bucuo and say, lucky husband. Nobody questions the magic wife-blessing husband. It's foolproof. Oh, and I also went to the doctor in town. Got my pre-marriage checkup. The doctor took one look at me and said I was healthy as an ox and would have absolutely zero problems having babies. So it wasn't me who was broken in my past life. It was my lousy ex-brother-in-law who deliberately made sure I never got pregnant. Probably didn't want ugly babies. The nerve. Whatever. His loss. My new husband's gain. On the tractor ride home, the Annies noticed I'd bought men's fabric too. Making clothes for him already? Before he's even moved in. He's lucky for me. Gotta treat him right. They looked at me like I'd grown a second head. An ugly woman being nice to her live-in husband? Unheard of. Everyone expected me to treat him like a servant, and here I was buying him new clothes. When Annie got nosy about exactly how much money I'd made from the gold, I clutched my money pouch like a dragon guarding its hoard. Not much. Between the house and the wedding, it's basically gone. Lie. Massive lie. But a necessary one. Another auntie asked if the black market was scary. I held up my fist, a fist roughly the size of a small melon, and said, I'm not worried. They can't beat me. The whole tractor went silent. Then someone muttered, she's got a point. Say what you want about my face, but nobody messes with these arms. I got back to the village loaded with shopping bags like a medieval influencer, only to find out my former brother-in-law had come to my parents' house. To propose.
To me.
Again.
Sir.
I am literally already married. I dropped my stuff off at home and speed-walked to the He family house to witness this train wreck in person. My sister-in-law was out front peeling vegetables and gave me the scoop. The Move family sent someone to formally propose marriage. I'm already married. I have a certificate. They want to check anyway. Inside, Dad was doing his awkward apology routine. Sorry, Wegu, but Xiaowu just won't cooperate. And there sat Muegwa, my dead sister's husband, father of 7, the man who made my last life a living hell, looking panicked that his free nanny had slipped through his fingers. But my children are waiting for their auntie, he whined. I hadn't even walked through the door yet, but my voice got there first.
Hey.
Brother-in-law, you married one sister, and now you want the other one too? You want me to take the story to your workplace? See how your boss feels about it. Boom. Direct hit. In this era, your work unit is everything. Threaten someone's job and watch them deflate like a punctured tire. He tried the soft approach. Xiaowu, are you sure you won't reconsider? That cowshed guy has a terrible background. I looked at this man, really looked at him. In my past life, I spent decades slaving away for his family. I raised his 7 sons. I cooked, cleaned, fought off neighbors, protected the household. And when I got old, those 7 boys I raised threw me out like garbage. And this man, their father, never lifted a finger to stop it. I'd rather marry a cockroach than marry you, is what I wanted to say. What I actually said was somehow worse. I only love my husband now. The look on his face was priceless. Here's a guy who genuinely cannot understand why an ugly 24-year-old spinster would turn down the chance to raise his 7 kids for free. In his mind, I should be grateful. On my knees, thanking the heavens that a man with a real salary even looked my way. He tried the guilt card. Think of your nephews. Not my kids, not my problem. One more word, and I'm getting the village chief. Mom gave me a death glare, then turned to Wegwa with her sweetest voice. Don't worry, dear. We'll find you someone else. With your conditions, getting a young bride won't be hard. Then I couldn't resist twisting the knife. Yeah, just make sure you tell the new girl up front. She's signing up to be a full-time servant to 7 boys. No days off.
No appreciation.
Just cooking and cleaning until she dies. Mom, of course, had the perfect comeback. Many sons means many blessings. Many blessings. I literally died because of those blessings. 7 ungrateful sons who kicked their stepmom into the street. Some blessings. Wegwa left looking like someone stole his lunch. He genuinely couldn't figure out where his plan went wrong. In his brain, the equation was simple. Ugly girl no prospects equals grateful wife. He never considered that the ugly girl might have standards. or a spine, or a secret cave full of gold. Walking home, I had one crystal clear thought. I need to bring Ning Bucuo home immediately. And I need to get pregnant fast. Not for romance. Not for love. For revenge. The best revenge is living well, and nothing says living well like having my own baby while my ex-almost husband drowns in 7 kids and dirty laundry. Mom promised to help Wagwer find a new wife. Good luck to whoever that poor woman is. She's going to need it. And Mom said many sons means blessings. H.A. Tell that to the woman who died in a rainstorm picking wild vegetables, because those blessings threw her out. I watched the whole Muwegwa drama at my parents' house like it was free entertainment, then left without even eating dinner. I had things to do. Specifically, sewing clothes for my soon-to-be family of 3. My own measurements? Obviously, I know those. I'm built like a wardrobe. Hard to forget. For Ning Bucuo and his little brother, I eyeballed it. When you've spent a lifetime sizing up people, you get pretty good at guessing. Besides, anything is an upgrade from whatever rags they've been wearing in the cow shed. Next stop, old Jing's house. He's the village carpenter. No wife, no kids. Just him and a little adopted grandson. The man lives and breathes wood. Got any beds ready? Not ready-made, but give me 2 days and I'll have them done. 2 beds. Both king-sized. One for me and the husband. One for the little brother. Simple math. Oh, and tables. And chairs. And stools. And cabinets. I basically ordered an entire IKEA catalog. Every room needed a table. We needed a dining table, storage cabinets, a little altar table, the works. Old Jing's eyes lit up like it was Christmas. This was probably the biggest order he'd gotten in years. Then old Jing got nosy.
So,
the cow shed people. Are they easy to, recruit? I blinked. Why do you ask? Well, I was thinking. Maybe I could find myself a companion from there too. I almost dropped the chair I was carrying. Old Jing, the village's most dedicated bachelor, was inspired by MY love story to go husband or wife shopping at the cowshed. There are women in there too, you know, he said, suddenly very interested. Some of them lost their husbands after being sent down. I'd created a trend. The cowshed was becoming the village's hottest dating pool. Next thing you know, someone's going to set up a matchmaking booth out front. I mean, you could ask the chief to put out some feelers, I said carefully. Just don't force anyone. Let them decide. Old Jing nodded enthusiastically. The man who'd given up on love was suddenly a hopeless romantic, all because he saw an ugly woman with a magic ring successfully import a husband. He helped me carry all the furniture to my new house. And that's when his jaw hit the floor. Xiaowu, what did you do to this place? Listen, I may not have gone to school, but I've got 70 years of homemaking experience crammed into this reborn brain. I'd laid stone paths through the yard, divided the space into sections with rocks, and, here's the showstopper, laid flat river stones across every floor inside the house. Smooth, clean, beautiful stone flooring. Nobody in our village does stone floors. Everyone's got dirt or packed mud. But in my past life, I'd seen it done in later years when people started modernizing. I just did it 20 years early. This floor. How did you? Oh, you know. Just threw some sand down and laid stones on top. No big deal. What I didn't mention, I used my magic cave ring to teleport hundreds of pounds of river stone directly into my house without breaking a sweat. One woman moving company, baby. Old Jing stood in the middle of my living room looking genuinely emotional. With a house like this, marrying a cowshed guy is a waste. Any man in the county would want to live here. Sweet of him to say, but my mind was made up. Ning Bucuo was my guy. I picked him. I'm sticking with him. This life, I only need one man. And honestly, after the disaster that was my previous marriage, one is more than enough. Walking around my little property after old Jing left, I felt something warm bloom in my chest. This house was mine. My name on the deed. My hands built it. My stone floors. My walls. My yard. In my past life, I signed everything over to my stepkids and ended up homeless. This time, every brick, every stone, every splinter belongs to me. Forever. No husband inherits it. No future kids get it.
Mine.
You know what I realized? For women, Marrying out is the worst investment you can make. You leave your home, move to someone else's territory, raise someone else's family, and end up with nothing. But marrying someone in? House is yours. Kids are yours. Man steps out of line. Door's right there, buddy. I am basically a feminist icon, and I can't even read. Ning Bucuo had been sitting in that cow shed for days, just waiting. They'd already gotten their marriage certificate, romance level, government paperwork, but he was still sleeping in cow manure because we hadn't set a move-in date yet. Finally, the chief gave us a day. And on that morning, I woke up, strapped a giant red paper flower to my chest, grabbed 2 sets of new clothes, steamed a massive basket of meat buns, and marched to the cow shed to collect my husband. Like picking up a package. Except the package was a person. And it came with a smaller package. Your clothes are disgusting. Put these on before you come home with me, I said, handing over the outfits. Real romantic, I know. Ning Bucuo's hands were literally shaking as he took the clothes. Not from fear, from hope. New clothes meant I had resources. Meat buns meant I had food. For a man who'd been slowly starving, this was basically Christmas morning. While he changed, the other cow shed guys couldn't resist getting their last shots in. She's clearly disgusted by you. Good luck with that. What about going back to the city someday? You're just going to be a farmer forever. I heard her house is just a shack. Probably worse than here. That last one was so dumb nobody even responded. Worse than the cow shed? Where 20-something people sleep in a room that smells like livestock.
Please.
Ning Bucuo came out in his new clothes, and I wait. You look like that. Listen, when I picked this man, he was covered in dirt, skinny as a stick, wearing rags, and kneeling on rocks begging me for mercy. I thought I was getting a 5 out of 10. Maybe. But cleaned up and in decent clothes? This man was handsome. Like, genuinely, objectively, better looking than my ex-brother-in-law handsome. It was like watching one of those home makeover shows, except instead of a house, it was a husband. Apparently I'd been so focused on the "can he make babies" checklist that I completely overlooked the fact that I'd accidentally snagged a good-looking guy. A former overseas-educated professor, no less. 25 years old. In a previous era, this man would have been a big deal. In this era, he was my baby-making recruit. Life is funny. His little brother, Ning Xiaowu, was hiding behind him. 5 years old but looked about 3, tiny, bony, terrified. Same facial features as Ning Bucuo though. Definitely family. Say hi to Auntie, Ning Bucuo prompted. Hello, Auntie. The kid couldn't even look at me. He just gripped his shirt hem like it was a life raft. I pulled out a handful of candy from my pocket. The kid's eyes went wide, but he didn't dare take it, looking up at his uncle for permission first. That one little gesture, asking permission before accepting candy, told me everything about this child. He'd learned to be invisible, to take nothing, to expect nothing. Something in my chest twisted a little. Take it, Ning Bucuo said softly, patting his head. Old Man Gu's voice cracked as we left. Live well, Bucuo. It was the first time anyone had left the cow shed alive and voluntarily. Not exactly a fairy tale exit, but better than the alternative, which was usually being carried out. I will, Ning Bucuo said. Then he waved goodbye and walked toward me. Back at my house, the welcoming committee was underwhelming. The chief was there being supportive. My family was there being hostile. Mom and Dad had already made themselves at home in MY yard, eating MY snacks, going through MY wedding candy like it was a buffet. Mom, Dad, this is my husband Ning Bucuo. Mom, Dad, Ning Bucuo povet politeli. The silence that followed could have frozen a river. My parents looked at him the way you'd look at a stray dog that followed your kid home. Not a single warm word. Not a smile. Not even a polite nod. Not a great start, hubby. But don't worry, I've had 70 years of dealing with this family's nonsense. Their approval was never part of my plan anyway. The chief gave Ning Bucuo the day off from work, a huge deal, since cow shed people don't get days off, ever. Rain, shine, sick, dying, you work. One day of rest was the chief's wedding gift to us. And just like that, I was married.
No banquet. No fireworks. No crying relatives.
Just meat buns, candy, one red paper flower, and a husband who cleaned up surprisingly well. It wasn't much, but it was mine. You know what every bride dreams of on her wedding day? A screaming match about money with her parents at the dinner table.
So romantic.
It started when I brought up the obvious. Mom, Dad, I'm married now. Separate household. My work points are mine from now on. You'd think I'd announced I was burning down the family farm. Dad's face went white. Mom looked like she'd swallowed a wasp. My brother nearly choked on his food. Absolutely not, Dad blurted out. See, here's the dirty little secret. My work points were basically keeping the entire He family fed. I'm the strongest worker in the house, in the whole village. Without my contribution to the family pot, they'd actually have to, work harder themselves. Revolutionary concept. The chief stepped in. She's married. Separate household. Her points are hers. That's how it works. Mom, never one to lose gracefully, pivoted faster than a politician. Fine. Then, what about retirement money? You owe us. I almost laughed. Almost. Let me get this straight. When my sisters got married, you gave them dowries. When I got married, you gave me nothing. Not a single coin. Not a bowl. Not a pair of chopsticks. And now you want retirement money? Are you serious? I raised you. You OWE me. You're still young. You can still work. When you're actually old and can't move, I'll pay whatever my brothers and sisters pay. Not a penny more. But right now? Forget it. Mom was practically vibrating with rage. Then she spotted little Xiaowu sitting at the table in his new clothes and found a new target. You can afford to buy new clothes for someone else's kid, but you can't take care of your own parents. Oh, here we go. When you made new clothes for my brothers, did you make me any?
No?
Then don't lecture me about who I spend my money on. You found gold in the river and you can't share with your mother. You kicked me out with zero, and now you want to cut? The audacity. The poor chief was sitting there watching his wine go flat, wishing he'd never suggested this family dinner. He looked like a man who'd accidentally walked into someone else's divorce hearing. Mom tried her nuclear option. If you don't support us, I'll report you for being unfilial. She said this while the chief, the man she'd report me to, was sitting literally 3 feet away, watching her with visible exhaustion. Go ahead, Mom. Report me. Tell them how you sent your daughter off with nothing. Tell them how you wanted to sell me to a man with 7 kids, like I was livestock. Tell them how you never once made me clothes while dressing up my brothers. I'm sure the village elders will be very sympathetic. The chief had finally had enough. That's enough. Dezhu, control your wife. Xiaowu built this house herself. She got lucky with the gold. You didn't give her anything when she left, so you don't get to demand anything now. End of discussion. Mom pointed at Xiaowu one more time. That outsider gets new clothes and out. I slammed the table. It's my wedding day. If you can't eat without ruining it, then leave. The chief backed me up. Anyone who doesn't want to eat can go. There's meat on this table. That shut everyone up real quick. Meat is rare. Very rare. And I'd bought several pounds of it for this meal. You don't walk away from meat over pride. Not in this village. Not in this era. So they sat down. And they ate. In furious, resentful silence. Happy wedding day to me. In my past life, I spent decades trying to earn my family's love. I cooked for them, worked for them, gave everything to them, and they still didn't care about me. Now, in this life, I'd been separated from them for barely 2 weeks, and they were already trying to shake me down for cash. Some things never change.
But one
thing did change. This time, I had the chief on my side, money in my secret cave, a house in my name, and absolutely zero willingness to be anyone's ATM. The old Xiaowu would have caved. The new Xiaowu? The new Xiaowu ate her meat and didn't share a single bite. My family left after lunch, and good riddance. The retirement money argument ended in a draw, meaning I won because no conclusion means no money for them. Perfect. Once they were gone, I switched from battle mode to wife mode. Because here's the thing about me. I'm a raging dragon to the outside world. But at home, I'm actually kind of sweet. Don't tell anyone. Ignore my family, I told Ning Bucuo while we cleaned up. They're terrible people. I don't mind at all, he said, and he actually meant it. He told me later that watching me stand up to my parents actually impressed him. A woman who doesn't blindly obey her family? In this era? That's practically a superhero origin story. Then he looked around the house, really looked, and I could see his brain short-circuiting. New bedding. New clothes laid out for both him and Xiaowu. A fully stocked kitchen. Stone floors. Everything clean and organized. He'd walked in expecting a shack and found a Pinterest board. I thought we'd be struggling, he said carefully.
Nope.
I found gold in the river right after we got our certificate. You're my lucky charm, remember? I grinned at him. And honestly, I was starting to believe my own propaganda. Last life. Married to brother-in-law. Poor forever. This life. Married to Ning Bucuo. Instant gold. The math checks out. He mentioned he only had a few bucks to his name. I clutched my money pouch like a mama bear. I managed the money. That's not negotiable. Fair enough. Smart man. We're going to get along just fine. His one request? Books and pencils. First and second grade textbooks for little Xiaowu and writing supplies for himself. In his family, kids started learning at 3. Xiaowu was already 5, practically ancient by their standards. I said yes without even asking why. Education? Sure. Whatever. I can't read myself, but if the man wants to teach his nephew letters, who am I to argue? Then I had a much more important agenda item. We're going to the village doctor. For what? To check if you can make babies. His ears turned red. Completely tomato red. This former professor, this overseas-educated intellectual, was blushing because a farm woman asked about his reproductive capabilities at 2 in the afternoon. I'm fine, he stammered. I'm just hungry, that's all. Hungry is right, look at you. The clothes I made are swimming on you. If we try to have a baby right now, what kind of seed are you providing? Malnourished seed. I need quality product. I don't think anyone had ever spoken to him this way in his entire life. Welcome to marriage with Xiaowu, buddy. I dragged him and Xiaowu to the village doctor. The doctor took one look at Ning Bucuo's status and got nervous. Xiaowu, you know who these people are, right? I can't officially treat cowshed residents. I'm not asking you to treat them. Just look at them and tell me if anything's broken. The doctor examined them both and delivered the verdict. The big one is fine, just starving. The little one, he paused. You need to feed him properly, or he might not make it. Might not make it hit different. I looked at Xiaowu, this tiny, silent kid who was afraid to eat candy without permission, and something hardened inside me. Not sadness. Determination. Tell me what he needs. No major diseases, thank God. Just malnutrition across the board. The prescription was simple. Food. Lots of it. Good food. Regular meals. Well, if there's one thing I can guarantee in this household, it's that nobody goes hungry. I've got a secret cave full of gold and a work ethic that could power a small city. These 2 skinny boys walked into the right house. As we walked home, I had one thought. Fatten up the husband first, then baby making. It's like farming. You gotta prepare the soil before you plant the seeds. And little Xiaowu? Does he need milk powder, like my nephew used to drink? Wait, how do you properly feed a 5-year-old? I raised 7 kids in my last life and apparently did a terrible job because they all turned out ungrateful. Maybe this time I should try a different approach. Step 1, food. Step 2, more food. Step 3, figure out parenting later. I went back to town on my wedding day. Yes, I left my brand new husband at home alone on day 1. The village aunties had a field day with that. Xiaowu, you abandoned your lucky husband already? You just got married. He's not going anywhere. He literally has nowhere else to go. I need to buy stuff. What stuff? Supplements. Gotta fatten him up, so he can give me good babies. The aunties howled. I swear, talking about reproduction is my greatest social skill. These women live for baby talk. One lady tried to guilt me. You're spending money on an outsider instead of helping your parents. I shut that down immediately. He's my husband. Father of my future children. How is he an outsider? I'm not investing in him. I'm investing in my son, who doesn't exist yet. Big difference. The aunties nodded along. You can't argue with a woman who frames everything as, for the children. It's bulletproof logic.
They warn me not to spoil my man.
Spend too much on a husband and you'll regret it forever. I don't care about him, I said with a straight face. Once I have my baby, the husband is just furniture. Women don't need men. We need children. Children are our real investment. The aunties nearly fell off the tractor agreeing with me. Apparently 70 years of life experience accidentally turned me into the village philosopher. In town, I split off from the group and headed to the scrap collection station. I needed old newspapers to wallpaper my house, make spare wooden walls look nicer. But the owner didn't have enough newspapers, so he threw in a bunch of old books to make up the weight.
Fine.
Books, newspapers, same thing when you're gluing them to a wall. Then I remembered. Ning Bucuo wanted textbooks. Elementary school, grades 1 through 5. Hey, uncle, you got any elementary school books in here? Sure, over there. Help yourself. I can't read. The old man's eyes lit up. Not with sympathy, with opportunity. This man proceeded to fill 2 entire burlap sacks with books and hand them to me. Uncle, does elementary school really require this many books? I stared at the mountain of literature. Village kids carry like 3 books to school. He was giving me enough to build a library. Oh yes, he said with the most sincere smile I've ever seen on a con artist. These are all essential for studying. You won't regret buying them. I knew. I was being swindled. Scrapbooks cost 5 cents a pound to sell.
He was charging me 10 cents a pound to buy.
And he definitely stuffed those sacks with random garbage that had nothing to do with elementary school. But what was I going to do? I can't read. I couldn't tell a math textbook from a romance novel if my life depended on it. I ran through my options. Option A, call him out. But I have 0 evidence because I'm illiterate. Option B, go to a real bookstore instead. But books there cost even more, and I'd probably get scammed there too because, again, can't read. Option C, just buy the stupid sacks and move on.
Fine.
I'll take them all. The man grinned like he'd just won the lottery. And honestly, maybe it wasn't the worst deal. I had more money than I could spend, a magic cave to store things in, and if the books turned out to be useless, I'd just paste them to my walls. Literature as home decor. Very cultured. I chucked both sacks into my secret cave dimension when nobody was looking, no heavy lifting required, and continued my shopping trip. You know what the real tragedy is? I lived 70 years and never learned to read. Not because I was stupid, but because nobody thought a girl needed education. And now, in my second life, I'm getting hustled by a junk shop uncle because I can't tell the difference between a textbook and toilet paper. Maybe I should ask Ning Bucuo to teach me while he's teaching Xiaowu.
Nah.
I'm too busy being the breadwinner. Somebody in this family has to make money while the pretty one plays teacher. After the book scam, I headed to the black market for the real mission meat. Let me explain something about being a rural person in this era. Meat is basically a luxury item. We get maybe 2 pounds of meat ration tickets per year. The rest of the time, we survive on vegetables and the occasional egg, if you're lucky enough to have chickens. Back at my parents' house, we had 5 chickens, but every egg went to the kids. The person doing 90% of the household labor, hadn't eaten an egg in ages. My childhood dream, I'm not joking, was to eat an egg every day. That was peak ambition. Not a mansion, not a car, an egg. So there I am at the black market, and a lady is selling meat. Real meat. 15 pounds of it. How much? 1 yuan 50 per pound. My soul left my body. The supply store sells it for 80 cents. But of course, the supply store requires ration tickets, which rural people don't have. The black market is expensive, but it's our only option. We're paying the peasant tax on everything. I tried to haggle. This is mostly lean meat. Where's the fat? Yes, I was complaining about not enough fat. In this era, fat is the good stuff. Fat means cooking oil. Fat means flavor. Fat means calories. Those future generations who pick the fat off their pork would be disowned by us. The lady wasn't budging on price. And I was standing there having an internal war between my wallet and my stomach. My husband and Xiaowu were walking skeletons. They needed protein. I needed them healthy, one for baby making, one so he doesn't die and make Ning Bucuo hate me. I'll take it. All of it. 15 pounds. 22 yuan 50. The lady packed it up so fast you'd think she was afraid I'd change my mind. She was grinning like she'd won the lottery. I looked like someone attending a funeral. Then, because the universe apparently wants me broke, I spotted powdered milk. Little Xiaowu was dangerously thin. The village doctor said he might not survive without proper nutrition. Powdered milk is basically liquid gold for malnourished children. How much for the milk powder? 20 yuan per can. 20 yuan. For a can the size of my fist. Are you insane? 20 yuan? That's enough to feed my family for months. Take it or leave it, buddy. He called me buddy. He called me big brother. This man looked at me, a woman on her wedding day, and assumed I was a dude. And I was too upset about the price to even correct him. I did the math in my head. 20 yuan for milk powder. 22.50 for meat. Whatever I spent on books and supplies. My beautiful 2,000 yuan fortune was hemorrhaging like a wounded animal. I reached for my money pouch.
Pulled it back.
Reached again. Pulled back. It was like watching someone try to pet a cactus. Money is just numbers, I told myself. You can't take it with you when you die. You've got gold bars in a magic cave. Just buy this stupid milk.
I'll
take it. I was practically crying. Walking away with 15 pounds of meat, a can of milk powder, 2 sacks of books, and significantly less money, I had a moment of deep regret.
Could I maybe
return the husband? Just live alone? I was doing fine by myself. One person, no dependents, eating wild vegetables in a cave. That was the dream. Now I had 2 extra mouths, and I was bleeding money like a stuck pig. For a brief, beautiful moment, I considered just stealing a man when I needed one and returning him afterward. Like a library book. But then I remembered. In this era, that's called hooliganism, and you go to jail for it. And honestly, outside men are probably dirty. At least mine is house-trained. Fine.
Fine.
I'm in this now. I bought the cow. I might as well drink the milk. The very expensive, 20 yuan per can milk. Coming out of the black market, I looked like a war survivor. Emotionally devastated. Financially wounded. But carrying an absurd amount of goods. Let me recap the damage. I went in for some meat. I came out with 15 pounds of pork, a can of milk powder, discounted fabric with minor defects, eggs, rice, flour, and what was left of my self-respect. The fabric was the real trap. Textile factory workers get surplus cloth as a perk, and when they can't use it, they dump it on the black market cheap. No ration tickets needed. The cloth wasn't pretty, it had small flaws, but it was cloth. In an era where you get maybe a few feet of fabric rations per year, finding no-ticket cloth is like finding a unicorn. Did I need more fabric? I'd literally just bought fabric last week. But my past life brain kicked in. Buy it now or cry later. Every village woman knows. When you see something good without a ticket requirement, you grab it. Worry about needing it later. Of course, I hid all the good stuff in my magic cave before getting on the tractor home. What people could see was just 2 rolls of ugly fabric and some old books. Strategic poverty cosplay. The aunties noticed immediately. More cloth, Xiaowu? You just bought some. I was kicked out with nothing. 2 outfits. That's all I own. I need everything. One nanny got bold. Since you've got such good luck now, could you maybe let me have one of those rolls? I'll pay you. I hugged my basket like a mother bear protecting her cubs. Absolutely not. These are mine. You already bought fabric last time, and I still don't have enough. Do you know how much stuff I'm missing? I have a husband who owns 1 outfit and a 5-year-old nephew who's basically wearing a potato sack. The Annie backed off. Wise choice. Nobody wins a tug-of-war with these arms. She tried flattery instead. Next time you find deals like this, buy extra. We can sell them in the village. She had a point. These no-ticket goods would sell like crazy. But that was a problem for future Xiaowu. Present Xiaowu was still mourning every yuan she'd spent today. Running a household is so hard, I groaned to the aunties. Everything costs money. It's like the universe is eating me alive. Welcome to married life, sweetheart. they said in unison, with the hollow eyes of women who'd been budgeting since before I was born. Then the conversation shifted to actual news. A new batch of educated youth was coming to our village. City kids sent to the countryside for re-education, which really just means the cities had too many mouths to feed, so they shipped the extras to us. Every time new arrivals come, it's chaos. City kids who can't farm, can't handle the work, and complain about everything. Plus, they eat into our village's already tight food supply. But here's where it got interesting. Apparently the youth dormitory was full, so some of them would need to live with village families. And whoever housed them would get their food and cash subsidies. My ears perked up like a dog hearing a treat bag. Subsidies. Free food rations. Extra cash. And all I had to do was let someone sleep in a spare room? I had a house with extra space. A spare room originally meant for future children. And my brain was already running the numbers. The aunties were debating whether it was worth the hassle. A stranger in our house. But the subsidies, what if they're trouble? Meanwhile, I sat quietly on that tractor, thinking about something very good. A plan was forming. And when Xiaowu has a plan, the universe should probably start worrying. I waited until I was safely on my deserted little road before pulling everything out of my magic cave. Living on the outskirts of the village has its perks. Nobody sees you materializing 15 pounds of pork from thin air. When I got home, Ning Bucuo was in the yard, already working. On his day off, the man had been digging up the yard to make a vegetable garden. I didn't even ask him to do that. He just saw dirt and got productive. I could get used to this. First order of business, the books. I dumped 2 burlap sacks onto the floor like a defeated explorer returning from a cursed expedition. Why did you buy this many books? Ning Bucuo stared at the mountain of paper. Because I can't read. I kicked the sacks for emphasis. That scrap shop uncle asked me how many I wanted, and I said grades 1 through 5, and he gave me everything in his store. He saw an illiterate woman and thought, jackpot. I was ready to march back to town and burn that shop to the ground. But Ning Bucuo flipped through them, and, surprise, surprise, they were actually useful. Not all elementary textbooks, sure. Lots of extra reading material mixed in. But as a former professor, he saw value in every single one. These are all good. We can use them. They better be good or I'm committing arson. Then came the moment that cracked something inside me. I'd bought little pastries in town. Brown sugar cakes. Nothing fancy. But when I was a kid, the highlight of my entire childhood was when my grandpa went to town and brought back a little treat. That tiny sweetness was the only sweetness in my whole miserable youth. Nobody else ever gave me that. Not my parents. Not my siblings. Just Grandpa and his little cakes. So when I squatted down and held out the pastries to Xiaowu, I wasn't just giving a kid some snacks. I was passing along the only kindness I ever received. Here, little guy. These are for you. His eyes went huge, but his hands stayed frozen at his sides. He looked up at Ning Bucuo first, asking silent permission. This 5-year-old had been trained by a year of starvation to never take anything without approval. My chest hurt. Auntie's giving it to you. Take it, Ning Bucuo said softly. The kid took one cake, then immediately held it up to my face. Auntie, you eat too. I nearly died. In my past life, I brought treats home to 7 kids for years. Not once did any of them offer me a single bite. Not once did they think, hey, maybe mom wants some too. They just grabbed and ran. And here was this tiny, starving, terrified kid who'd known me for approximately 6 hours, trying to feed me. No, no, no. Kids eat pastries. Adults don't like sweets. I lied, waving my hands like I was fighting off bees. Then little Xiaowu offered one to Ning Bucuo too. Uncle, you eat. Uncle doesn't like them either. All for you, Xiaowu. This child treasured those cakes so much he didn't even want to eat them. He wanted to save them. Like they were gold. I would know. I have actual gold, and this kid treated sugar cakes the same way. Then I pulled out the milk powder, and Ning Bucuo's expression completely changed. His eyes went from the milk powder to the eggs to the 15 pounds of meat in my basket, and I could see his brain exploding. Are we celebrating New Year early? Just drink your milk and shut up. I need you healthy. He got quiet for a moment. Then, very softly, "Thank you." He didn't say more, but I could see it in his eyes, the weight lifting off his shoulders. For a year, he'd been slowly watching his nephew waste away, unable to do anything. And now some strange, ugly farm woman was throwing meat and milk powder at them like it was nothing. I left him to salt the pork and rushed off to buy baby chicks from the village aunties. My plan: 15 chicks. Raise them up, eat the roosters, keep the hens for eggs. Every household is allowed 5 adult chickens, but chicks don't count because half of them die anyway. Walking home later with a basket of peeping baby chickens, I looked at my little property, the stone paths, the garden plots, the house with stone floors, chickens on the way, and thought, this is starting to feel like a home. A real one. The kind I never had in 70 years of living. And all it took was dying, being reborn, finding a magic ring, raiding a treasure cave, kidnapping a husband from a cowshed, and spending an absolutely criminal amount of money at the black market. Simple, really. Our first dinner as a family of 3. I cooked. Ning Bucuo, despite being a grown man who'd been sent down for nearly a year, had apparently never touched a kitchen in his life. Former professor, can't boil water. Classic. Dinner was fine. What came after dinner was the problem. Ning Bucuo walked into my bedroom with red ears and shy eyes, like a blushing bride on prom night. This man, my husband, was expecting. You know, wedding night activities. I looked him up and down. Skinny arms, visible ribs, a body that could be knocked over by a stiff breeze. Absolutely not. His face went from pink to crimson. With that body, you can barely lift a bucket. What kind of quality product are you going to give me?
No.
You sleep with Xiaowu. Come back when you've gained 20 pounds. I'm not a teenage girl with butterflies and romance novels. I'm a 70-year-old woman in a young body. I don't need love, I need results. And results require a man who won't snap in half during the process.
But
it's our wedding night, he tried. People will talk if we sleep separately. Xiaowu just got here. He'll be scared sleeping alone in a new place. Go keep him company. He touched his own face, genuinely confused. Am I really that unattractive? Oh, honey. Back in the city, I'm sure girls were lining up. But right now, you're a malnourished scarecrow, and I'm running a baby production operation with standards.
if you need me,
You can call me, he said quietly, retreating to the other room with whatever was left of his dignity. The man had gone from feared being used as a breeding tool to sad nobody wants to breed with him in approximately 12 hours. Marriage is a journey. Meanwhile, in the other room, the real comedy was happening. Little Xiaowu was sitting on his bed, cradling a bowl of milk powder like it was holy water. Sipping in tiny little slurps, eyes glued to the milk powder can, terrified it might vanish if he blinked. When Ning Bucuo walked in, the kid didn't even notice. That's how focused he was on his milk. Is it good? Ning Bucuo asked. Uncle, aren't you sleeping with Annie tonight, 5 years old? This kid already understood the program. Apparently the old men in the cowshed had briefed him. Don't interrupt Auntie and Uncle's bedtime. You'd be scared alone. I'll stay with you tonight. But I'm not scared. This room smells nice. I'm totally fine alone. This child was actively trying to kick his uncle out so he could go sleep with me. A 5-year-old wingman. Unbelievable. Uncle, just go sleep with Annie. Make me a little brother to play with. Quickly. Ning Bucuo's face went completely flat. Here he was being rejected by his wife and peer-pressured by a kindergartner. Back in the cowshed, the guys joked he was being brought home as a stud. They said his skinny body couldn't possibly satisfy Xiaowu. What they didn't predict was that Xiaowu would take one look at him and say, "Not yet, you're too thin." He couldn't exactly tell his 5-year-old nephew. "She doesn't want me in there. Your auntie is worried you'll be scared." "I'll sleep here for a few days. Annie is the best," Xiaowu declared, letting out a tiny milk powder burp. Then, because this kid is apparently a genius, "Uncle, I drank milk so I can't sleep right away or I'll wet the bed. Can you teach me to write?" At 5. After a year of basically being locked in a cowshed with no education, no friends, no stimulation, this child was asking to learn. Ning Bucuo pulled out the new books and paper. "Let's start with our names. Can I learn Auntie's name first?" My heart. This kid had known me for one day and wanted to learn my name before his own. The 7 kids I raised for decades in my past life couldn't even be bothered to remember my birthday. Ning Bucuo wrote out all 3 names. His handwriting was beautiful, trained by masters, elegant even after a year without practice. And then Xiaowu picked up the brush and copied the characters.
Perfectly.
At 5 years old. First try. Flawless strokes. A tiny genius hiding inside a malnourished little body. In my past life, this child died young. A bright flame snuffed out before it ever got to shine.
But not this time.
This time, he's got milk powder, meat buns, a warm bed, and a terrifying auntie who will fight the entire world to keep him alive. He just doesn't know that last part yet. Ning Bucuo went to work in his new clothes, and you'd think he walked in wearing a tuxedo. Every single person in the cow shed stared. Oh look, Mr. Fancy Pants couldn't even change out of his wedding outfit. Poor Ning Bucuo tried to explain. My wife bought discount fabric and turned my old clothes into cleaning rags. I literally have nothing else to wear. The silence that followed was deafening. You could practically hear the jealousy crystallizing in the air. This man, who 24 hours ago was sleeping in cow manure, now had a wife who bought so much fabric she was using his old clothes as mop material. And it wasn't just the clothes. Ning Bucuo looked like a different person. One day of rest, one meal of real food, and the man was practically glowing. Same guy, same face, but now with a spark in his eyes that said, I have something to live for. The transformation was so dramatic people probably thought he'd been body swapped. The questions started pouring in like water through a broken dam. Got any extra fabric? Sorry, my wife found it by luck at the black market. I can't guarantee more. Can she get us some sugar? I just got married, I can't start making demands. Those meat buns yesterday were incredible. Can she make more? We don't just have meat lying around. We absolutely did. 15 pounds of it, salted and hanging in the kitchen. But I'd rather eat my own shoe than admit that. Are there any other village women looking for husbands? This one made Ning Bucuo pause. The same guys who'd called him a sellout, who'd said sleeping with me would give them nightmares, who'd mocked him for trading his body for food, were now basically asking where to sign up. If I'd known married life was this good. Yeah. Regret tastes bitter, doesn't it, boys? You had your chance. You chose dignity. Dignity doesn't come with meat buns. The real kicker was watching Ning Bucuo work. One day of eating properly, and he was finishing tasks twice as fast as everyone else. He actually had to slow down so he wouldn't make the others look bad. Imagine, a guy who was starving yesterday is now sandbagging because he's too efficient. At the end of the workday, everyone shuffled back to the cow shed. Ning Bucuo turned the other direction and walked home. To a house with stone floors. And a hot meal waiting. The envy was so thick you could spread it on bread. Back at the house, I'd made lunch. Congee, plus a stack of mixed grain buns. For Xiaowu, I used pure white flour, the good stuff. For us adults, mixed grain was fine. But even the mixed grain buns were luxury compared to cow shed rations. Here's my problem though. I cooked like I was still feeding 8 people. In my past life, I made meals for 7 kids plus a husband. My brain was hardwired for volume. If there are leftovers, they're full. If the food's gone, they're still hungry. That was my entire cooking philosophy for decades. So when Ning Bucuo sat down, he found enough food to feed a small army. He ate, and ate, and ate, until he physically could not swallow another bite. And there were still 2 buns left.
Xiaowu.
Maybe make less next time. What do you mean? Just save the extra for your afternoon snack. I ate 3 days worth of cow shed food in one sitting. If I keep this up, I'll be spherical by next month. He wasn't wrong. At this rate, my fatten him up plan was going to work a lot faster than expected. I burped. A big, satisfying burp. Even I had overeaten. Back at my parents' house, I never got this full. Too many mouths competing for the same pot.
Now?
I made the food, I ate the food, nobody fought me for it. This was what freedom tasted like. And it tasted like mixed grain buns with a side of congee, and a whole lot of satisfaction. I did make a mental note to cook less next time though. Old habits from feeding 7 ungrateful wolves die hard. My quiet little married life quickly became old news. The village gossip machine had a new obsession: the incoming batch of educated youth. More city kids shipped to the countryside. More mouths to feed. More drama incoming. The new batch was apparently feisty. They refused to move into village homes, so the older youth got shuffled instead. Musical chairs, countryside edition. But here's the part that caught my attention. The new youth proposed starting a literacy class. Free evening lessons, 1 hour a night, teaching villagers to read and write. I signed up so fast, I nearly broke the pen. "You're joining the literacy class?" people asked, shocked. "Your husband is literally a professor. Can't he teach you? Look, Ning Bucuo teaches Xiaowu every night. That kid is a genius. Perfect handwriting at 5 years old." Meanwhile, I tried to practice alongside them, and my characters looked like a drunk spider fell in an inkwell. I am clearly not gifted in the calligraphy department. I'd rather embarrass myself in front of strangers than in front of my own family. Thank you very much. "Come on, Annie, sign up with me." I tried recruiting the village women. "Next time we go to town, we won't get scammed." I was still traumatized by the book incident. 2 burlap sacks of random literature because I couldn't tell a math textbook from a cookbook. But the aunties weren't having it. Who's got time for classes? We're exhausted after work. Those city kids can't even farm. What can they teach us? All those girl youth do is fight over boys. You want them as teachers? Fair points, honestly. The educated youth scene was basically a soap opera. Apparently, some handsome rich guy had arrived, and every girl at the youth camp was throwing herself at him. Meanwhile, there was one gorgeous girl who had all the village boys tripping over themselves bringing her gifts. Young people drama. So boring. So predictable. So glad I'm a 70-year-old soul who's past all that nonsense. I signed up anyway. Free is free. And I needed to stop being illiterate before someone else sold me 3 sacks of dictionaries disguised as essential school supplies. Then my sister-in-law dropped a bomb. "Xiaowu, guess what? Your ex-brother-in-law got engaged." My eyebrows shot up. Someone willingly agreed to marry him. Not just someone, a female educated youth. She was staying at your parents' house, met your brother-in-law, and boom. Love at first sight. I choked on air. A city girl is marrying a divorced man. With 7 children, she's smart, my sister-in-law said, practically glowing. She marries into the Mu family. She doesn't have to work the fields. 2 salaried workers in the household. She just watches the kids. Oh, my sweet summer child. Let me break down what this girl thinks she's getting versus what she's actually getting. What she thinks. Cushy life, no farming, rich husband, easy street. What she's actually getting: a newborn still breastfeeding. 7 kids who will never accept her. Cooking for 10+ people every single day. And the second those kids are old enough to feed themselves, guess who's getting dragged to the fields? I lived this life. I know exactly how this story ends. She'll start as a wife and end as an unpaid servant, and when she gets old and useless, those 7 boys will throw her out like yesterday's dishwater. But sure, she won. My sister-in-law couldn't resist twisting the knife. If only you had married him. Now someone else got the good deal. I smiled. A real, genuine, peaceful smile.
Yeah.
What a shame. Let her have it. Let her have all of it. The 7 kids. The diapers. The cooking. The thankless decades. The cowshed of a marriage disguised as a golden opportunity. Meanwhile, I'll be over here with my magic ring, my secret gold, my handsome professor husband, and my genius 5-year-old nephew, learning to read at the free literacy class I signed up for because I'm building a life, not a prison sentence. Regret? The only thing I regret is not being reborn sooner. Ning Bucuo was not thrilled when he heard I signed up for literacy class. "I can teach you at home, you know. I'm literally a professor." "Yeah, but if I learn with you, I have to sit next to Xiaowu. That kid writes like a calligraphy master at 5 years old." Meanwhile, my characters look like I'm holding the brush with my feet. It's humiliating. Honestly, my eyes understood the characters. My brain understood the characters. But my hand had declared independence and was doing its own thing. I'm convinced there's a loose wire between my brain and my fingers. I'd rather struggle with the village aunties, I told him. At least they can't write either. Plus we can gossip. He couldn't argue with the gossip angle. Smart man. Before I left, I heard him tell Xiaowu, study hard. Don't let your Annie catch up to you. Xiaowu pumped his tiny fist. I'll do my best. I want to learn lots so I can take care of Andy someday. This kid had known me for like 3 days and was already planning to support me in old age. Meanwhile, the 7 kids I raised for decades in my past life couldn't even remember my name. Xiaoshu's loyalty was so intense that Ning Bucuo's position as most important person had clearly been demoted. Uncle went from only family to also present in record time. I grabbed my brush and paper and headed to the village threshing ground, where they'd set up a single electric light for the class. I was one of the only people who actually brought writing supplies. Most villagers showed up empty-handed, planning to just listen. You're not going to write anything down? I asked. We'll just learn to recognize the words. Writing is too much work. These people were spending an hour of their evening to learn half the skill. That's like going to a restaurant, smelling the food, and going home. What is the point? But whatever. Their loss. A village. Auntie grabbed me the second I sat down. Xiao, did you hear the TA about the teacher situation? Oh, I was all ears. So, originally, we were supposed to get Teacher Lu, apparently very good, very qualified. But Teacher Lu's girlfriend likes Teacher Yen instead. So the girlfriend secretly changed the assignment, replacing Lu's name with Yan's. She did what? And when Lu confronted his girlfriend, she threatened to accuse him of being a creep if he didn't give up the position. My jaw was on the floor. City people drama hits different. This girl sabotaged her own boyfriend's job to get a different guy a paycheck. That's not romance, that's warfare. So, what's so special about this Teacher Yen? The auntie leaned in with sparkling eyes. He's gorgeous. And sure enough, when Teacher Yen walked in, I understood the chaos. This man was objectively, undeniably, irritatingly handsome. Like, village girls suddenly care about education, handsome. Every young woman in attendance had put on her best outfit. Some of them were paying more attention to his face than his lesson. After class, they swarmed him with gifts, eggs, snacks, embroidered handkerchiefs, like he was a rock star. And Teacher Yen? He accepted everything. Every gift. Every fluttering eyelash.
No charm whatsoever.
Meanwhile, village husbands who'd never cared about literacy in their lives were suddenly showing up to class. Not because they wanted to learn, because they wanted to make sure their wives weren't falling in love with pretty boy Yen. Accidental educational success, through jealousy. Whatever works, I guess. As for the actual lesson, we learned to write the name of our village and our town. That's it. A few characters. And I nearly lost my mind trying to get them right. 1 hour. A handful of characters. And my paper looked like a crime scene. But hey, I could now write the name of my own village. That's more than I could do in 70 years of my previous life. Progress is progress, even when it's ugly. My ex-brother-in-law's wedding day. The educated youth girl, Qian Shuran, was marrying Mu Weigua, my dead sister's husband, father of 7, the man I dodged like a bullet in this life. She was getting married from my parents' house, since she had no family nearby. My parents even gave her a quilt as a dowry. A quilt. They gave this stranger girl more than they gave me when I left. But sure, no bitterness here. None at all. I went back to watch the spectacle, obviously. Free entertainment. And that's when I ran into Mu Baojia, the eldest of the 7 little wolves. 9 years old. My #1 tormentor from my past life. The kid who grew up to lead the charge in kicking me out of my own home. He marched right up to me with a look that was way too intense for a 9-year-old. Weren't you supposed to be my stepmom? Why did they switch you out? I kept my face blank. Who said I was going to be your stepmom? I wouldn't touch your family with a 10-foot pole. No, it was supposed to be you. You were supposed to marry my dad. Something about the way he said it. Supposed to. Like he knew the original script. Then he dropped the bomb. Good thing it's not you. Without our evil stepmother, this life is going to be so much better. Evil stepmother. This life. Chan Shu, past life. This little brat was reborn. Just like me. My smile could have lit up the entire village. Oh, this was delicious. This ungrateful little cockroach remembered everything, remembered throwing me out, remembered my miserable death, and thought he'd gotten an upgrade.
New stepmom.
A city girl. Educated. Connected. So much better than that ugly, illiterate farm woman, right? Oh, sweet child. You have no idea what's coming. Let me paint the picture this kid thinks he's getting. A sophisticated, educated mother figure who'll make sure they all get proper schooling. A woman with city connections. A cultured upgrade from old Xiaowu. Now let me paint what he's actually getting. A naive young girl who has no clue she just married into a family of 7 hungry wolves. A girl who thinks worker's family means easy living. A girl who's probably infertile, my sister-in-law's theory, which I immediately and enthusiastically believed, and doesn't realize that being a childless stepmom to 7 boys is basically volunteering for slavery. And here's the best part. That little reborn brat thinks he can manipulate the situation because he knows the future. But the future he knows had me in it. Hard-working, self-sacrificing, doormat Xiaowu who let everyone walk all over her. This new stepmom? She's a city girl. She has pride. She has options. The second those kids start acting up, and they will because Mu Baojia is literally a reborn schemer, she's not going to take it quietly like I did. I stood there cracking sunflower seeds, eavesdropping on the educated youth congratulating the bride. You're so lucky, Shuran. A worker husband. You'll move to the city. The youth only knew the highlight reel. Second marriage, 1 deceased wife, some kids, city housing. They did not know about 7 kids. 7. The Mu family had conveniently left that detail vague. It's all because that he family girl had no taste. Qian Shuren laughed. Her loss, my gain. The youth were baffled by me. She picked a cowshed prisoner over a worker? Her brain must be broken. Someone literally said I had mental problems. I was sitting 10 feet away eating seeds and laughing internally. My sister-in-law leaned over. Why do you think a young city girl would marry a divorced man with kids? Maybe she can't have children. Third sister-in-law guessed. Ding, ding, ding. That made perfect sense. A woman who can't conceive marrying a man who already has 7 kids? She gets a ready-made family without needing to produce her own. Classic arrangement. That explains everything. I nodded vigorously. A barren stepmom raising someone else's kids. Now, it makes sense. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered that Mu Baojia was reborn and probably scheming already, and my sympathy evaporated like morning dew. Let them have each other. The reborn brat, the clueless bride, and 7 hungry boys. It's going to be a circus, and I've got front row seats. Meanwhile, I'll be at home with my professor husband, my genius nephew, my secret gold cave, and my beautiful stone floor house, learning to write my own name at literacy class like the upgraded queen I am. Some people's karma arrives by mail. Mu Baojia's karma just arrived in a wedding dress. The chief was getting suspicious. I kept asking for travel permits to go to town, and he was starting to connect dots that didn't need connecting. Xiaowu, you married a cowshed guy. You need to keep a low profile. You've gone to town 3 times since the wedding. People used to see you twice a year. Villagers are going to think the cowshed people gave you something shady. Next thing you know, someone's calling you a class enemy. That sobered me up fast. In this era, rumors can kill. Literally. 1 accusation, 1 report, and suddenly you're the one sleeping in the cowshed. And I did not go through the trouble of rebirth, magic rings, and secret gold caves just to end up back where my husband started. But I have a real reason to go to town, I protested. What reason could you possibly? Come to my house. I'll show you. The chief followed me home, probably expecting to find evidence of black market smuggling. Instead, he found my yard filled with hand-woven crafts.
Baskets.
Little animal figures. Decorative containers. All made from dried wild grass that grows everywhere for free. I'd spent every spare minute weaving them using techniques I picked up across 70 years of rural life. Styles nobody in our area had seen before, things I'd learned from other villages in my past life, or invented by combining different methods. The chief picked up a basket and turned it over in his hands like he'd found an artifact. You made these? No, the chickens did. Yes, me. I want to sell them at the collection station in town. Is that important enough for a travel permit? He was impressed. But being a chief, his brain immediately went bigger. Could you teach the other villagers how to do this? Now, a selfish person would say no. Protect your trade secrets. Keep the monopoly. But here's the thing. I learned these techniques from village people in my past life. Different villages, different women over decades. This knowledge wasn't really mine to hoard. Plus, I'm playing a long game here. Being the woman who brought the whole village a new income stream? That's protection. Nobody reports the golden goose to the authorities.
Sure.
I'll teach everyone. The chief looked at me like I'd handed him a winning lottery ticket. We went to town together, and the second we walked into the collection station, a purchasing agent from the supply cooperative spotted my baskets and practically lunged at them. Ordered a whole batch on the spot. Set up an ongoing deal where they'd come to our village to pick up finished goods. No more risky trips to town. No more suspicious travel permits. The buyers would come to us. That evening, the chief called a village-wide meeting at the square. Literacy class? Cancelled. Sorry, Teacher Handsome. Tonight's lesson, how to weave money out of grass. The villagers went crazy. Everyone wanted in. Wild grass grows everywhere. It's literally free raw material. Even the laziest farmer could see the math. Free ingredients learn skill equals actual cash money. For contributing the technique, the chief awarded me 200 work points. That's a lot. The villagers didn't complain either, because I'd be spending the next stretch of time teaching instead of working the fields, and this was fair compensation. And just like that, I went from that crazy ugly woman who married a cowshed prisoner to the genius who brought money to the whole village. Now, you might wonder, Xiaowu, you have a cave full of gold. Why are you bothering with grass baskets? Simple. Gold bars can't be spent openly. Every yuan from gold needs a cover story. But money earned from legitimate basket weaving? That's clean income. Nobody questions why you bought extra meat if everyone knows you're selling crafts on the side. The gold is my secret retirement fund. The baskets are my alibi. I'm playing 4D chess out here, and I still can't write my own name properly. Life is beautiful. So here's the thing. I got so busy with basket weaving literacy class and being the village's new economic hero that I completely forgot why I got married in the first place. It took a village auntie poking my belly and asking any news yet for me to remember. Oh right, babies. That's the whole mission. That evening after dinner, I looked at Ning Bucuo, who had been eating well, filling out nicely, and generally looking less like a skeleton every day, and said the words every man dreams of hearing. So, your body's recovered enough, right? His face went from normal to tomato in about half a second.
UNGRATEFUL.
All better. Good. Time to get this show on the road. Ning Bucuo went to tell Xiaowu he was moving rooms. The conversation that followed was possibly the funniest thing to happen in our household. Xiaowu, Uncle is going to sleep in Annie's room now. If you get scared alone, just cry it out. I'm not scared. I've been waiting for you to leave. This 5-year-old had been trying to kick his uncle into my bedroom for weeks. He was more invested in our reproductive timeline than either of us. Uncle, worry about yourself. Village wives love kicking their husbands out of bed. And you're not exactly good at making Annie happy. The kid then poked Ning Bucuo's stomach. The village men have belly fat. You don't. You can't compete. Ning Bucuo got roasted by a kindergartner, and there was nothing he could do about it. In the bedroom, I was making the bed when Ning Bucuo walked in carrying his things. The man was sweating. His hands were shaking. You'd think he was walking into a lion's den, not his wife's bedroom.
So,
where do I sleep? I stared at him. You're in the bedroom. Where do you think? I've never. I don't really know how to. This man, this educated, overseas-trained, 25-year-old professor, was more nervous than a chicken at a barbecue. Meanwhile, I'm a reborn 70-year-old who's been through this before and considers the whole thing about as romantic as doing laundry.
Relax.
I don't bite. It's just making a baby. 2 minutes tops. 2 minutes. That's what I remembered from my past life. My ex-brother-in-law was a strictly 2-minute operation. Quick, joyless, efficient. Like sneezing. Reader, it was not 2 minutes. It was over an hour. The first attempt was awkward. First times always are. But the second round? The man figured things out. And kept going. And kept going. By the time it was over, I was lying there staring at the ceiling, completely reevaluating everything I thought I knew about the relationship between men and women. 2 minutes versus an hour. My ex-brother-in-law versus Ning Bucuo. It was like comparing a firecracker to a fireworks show. A horrifying realization crept into my mind. In my past life, when I couldn't get pregnant, I blamed myself. The doctors couldn't find anything wrong with me. So what if? What if the problem was him? What if my ex-brother-in-law's 2-minute specials were so pathetic that conception was basically impossible? He had 7 kids with my sister, sure. But what if after that he just couldn't anymore? Or wouldn't? I'd spent an entire lifetime thinking I was broken, when really, the equipment on the other side was defective. The audacity. The next morning, I was up at my usual time. Sore, but functional. I fried up some cured pork for breakfast, a rare treat. Ning Bucuo came to the table and blinked at the meat. Why did you cook pork for breakfast? To help you recover your strength. His face went red again. But last night you were the one who said to stop. Eat your meat and stop talking. There's a saying in the countryside. There's no field that can't be plowed, only bulls that drop dead from exhaustion. I needed my bull in peak condition. This was an investment, not affection. He picked up his chopsticks with a quiet little smirk.
Fine.
But tonight I'm going for round 3. Oh? Mr. 2 minutes was all I knew had created a monster. This marriage might actually work out.
So someone reported me.
Someone, and I had a very good guess who, told the Red Guards that a class enemy from the cowshed was living the good life at my house, wearing new clothes, eating well, being treated like an actual human being. The horror. A group of young Red Guards showed up at my door, ready to storm in and smash things up. Standard intimidation stuff. They'd done it 100 times to 100 families. Except this time, the family was mine. They rounded the corner and found me standing in the doorway. All 5 foot something of solid, farm-hardened, buffalo wrestling muscle. Arms crossed. Face like thunder. You could hear their confidence evaporating. Comrade. Ning Bucuo was sent down for labor reform. He's not supposed to be living comfortably. Please. Cooperate. The lead guy's voice cracked halfway through. He sounded like a teenager asking his teacher for a bathroom pass. I drew myself up to full height. He's not living comfortably. He works with the cowshed crew every single day. Same tasks, same hours, same suffering. And at night, I paused for dramatic effect. He has to work overtime. With me, the Red Guards exchanged deeply uncomfortable glances. But he can't wear new clothes. His kind doesn't deserve. I dragged him home to breed. I roared. You think that's a good life? You want to trade places? Any of you can move in and be my husband instead. I'd love some fresh young men. I gave them my biggest, widest, most predatory smile. Every tooth on display. They stepped back. All of them. In unison. Like a choreographed retreat. Bee breeding, one stammered. That's right. I need babies. He's the equipment. Now, do you want to volunteer? Because honestly, I like your build better. I winked at the youngest one. The poor boy looked like he was going to cry. The cowshed is dirty, I continued, advancing toward them. If he sleeps there and catches some disease, and then gives it to me, who's responsible? But hey, if you take him back, one of you could stay here and keep me company instead. I'm not picky. I rolled up my sleeves. Slowly. Deliberately. Flexing my arms so they could see every muscle, every vein, every reason why wrestling me would be a terrible life choice. The lead Red Guard's face went through about 7 emotions in 3 seconds. Authority, confusion, fear, disgust, more fear, existential crisis, and finally, full retreat. He really works with the cowshed group every day. Ask anyone in the village. Go ahead. I'll wait. They weren't going to ask. They were already backing away like I was a hungry tiger and they were made of steak. So we're done here. Wait, don't leave so soon. I took a step forward, flexing harder. I was just starting to enjoy your company. They ran. Full sprint. 3 grown red guards fleeing from one ugly farm woman like she was a demon sent from hell. I swear one of them was whimpering. I stood in my doorway watching them disappear down the road, laughing so hard I nearly fell over.
Now, about the person who reported me.
The village owed me for the basket weaving business. Not a single villager would have turned me in. The only person with a grudge, the only person whose precious little project I disrupted, the only person who had just argued with me about taking up everyone's time.
Teacher Yen.
Pretty boy. Mr. Steal Your Literacy class. He thought reporting my husband's comfortable living would knock me down a peg. Instead, he just learned what everyone in this village already knows. You do not mess with Xiaowu. The red guards left so fast they probably didn't stop running until the next county. And I guarantee you, they will never come back. Being ugly and terrifying has its perks. Today, it saved my family. Word spread fast about the Red Guard incident. The whole village was furious, not at me, but at whoever reported me. People were cursing the snitch with the kind of colorful language that would make a sailor blush. May his sons be born without buttholes, was the general sentiment. And can you blame them? I was the village's money tree. My basket weaving technique had given every household extra income. For the first time in years, people had cooking oil and salt in the same month. You don't report the person feeding your family. That's just basic survival logic. The village aunties were my personal defense squad. Her husband's background has nothing to do with her. She's 9 generations of certified poor peasant. You can't get a cleaner record than that. Meanwhile, pretty boy Yen, teacher gorgeous, Mr. Stole someone else's job, was seething that his little snitch plan hadn't worked. The red guards ran away, crying. I was still standing, and now the whole village loved me even more.
So, he tried a different strategy.
A dumber strategy. At dinner in the youth camp he started. Matchmaking?
Scheming?
Whatever you call it when a man tries to pimp out an ugly married woman to unsuspecting bachelors. You know, he said casually to the male educated youth, whoever's with Xiaowu gets the good life. She's so capable, so hardworking. Nobody bit. He tried again. She makes several yuan a day. Imagine being her man. The youth looked at him blankly. Their brains were normal. Their moral compasses worked. A married woman is a married woman. What was he suggesting? She's clearly unsatisfied, you know. Needs a man. Now the room got uncomfortable. Everyone stared at him. Here was the campus heartthrob, the guy every girl swooned over, sitting here obsessively talking about an ugly married farm woman.
It was weird.
Here's what pretty boy wanted to happen. Some lovesick fool would seduce me, cause a scandal, wreck my marriage, ruin my reputation, and knock me off my village hero pedestal. Without me, villagers would have free time for his literacy class. His teaching numbers would go up.
His stipend would be safe.
Elegant plan. Evil, but elegant. Here's what actually happened. The educated youth started talking about learning basket weaving themselves. Why would we need to get with her? We can just learn the skill and make our own money. Yeah, one family in the village already earns several yuan a day. We just need to work harder. She teaches anyone who asks. It's free. Pretty boy kept trying to steer the conversation toward seduction. The youth kept steering it toward entrepreneurship. It was like watching someone try to start a fire in a rainstorm. Finally, one brave soul said what everyone was thinking. Yen, you keep talking about Xiaowu. Do you have feelings for her? Pretty boy exploded. You'd think someone had set his hair on fire.
Me?
And her? Don't insult me. Oh, how the mighty fall. The village heartthrob, the man who made young wives blush and husbands jealous, was now being accused of having a crush on the village's most famously ugly woman. The scandal. The humiliation. He backpedaled so fast he probably got whiplash. I was just making conversation. Forget I said anything. And just like that, pretty boy's grand scheme accomplished absolutely nothing, except making everyone think he secretly wanted to marry me. You know what the funniest part is? He thought he was so clever. But he forgot something important. Normal people don't spend their evenings trying to get other people's husbands replaced. Normal people eat dinner and go to bed. The fact that he was this obsessed with ruining me told me everything I needed to know. I wasn't just living in his head rent-free. I'd redecorated the place and installed stone floors. Meanwhile, I was at home, eating salted pork, teaching Xiaowu to count, and not thinking about Pretty Boy at all. Some people play chess. Some people play checkers. And some people play themselves. Pretty Boy Yen was obsessed with destroying me. His literacy class was a ghost town, his ego was in shambles, and his little red guard stunt had only made me more popular. So he went for a new angle, one I didn't see coming. He went to the cow shed. While passing by where the cow shed crew was working, he spotted Ning Bucuo immediately, the only guy not dressed in rags. Subtle as a lighthouse, that husband of mine. But Pretty Boy didn't talk to Ning Bucuo. Oh no, he was smarter than that. He found one of the other men and started asking innocent questions. So, how did Ning Bucuo get picked as he's Xiaowu's husband? The cow shed guy gave the inside version. He talked to her first, they made a deal, and he moved in. Then Pretty Boy dropped his little poison pill. That's funny, because the village says it was the opposite. Everyone says nobody in the cow shed wanted to go, and Xiaowu was stuck with Ning Bucuo as her last resort. The cow shed guy's brain visibly short-circuited. See, what actually happened was that Ning Bucuo pulled a fast one. He announced loudly that he'd already made a deal with me, before anyone else could volunteer, and the other guys were too proud to compete for an ugly woman's hand. It was a bluff, and it worked, but now, thanks to Pretty Boy's meddling, the cow shed guys realized they'd been played. They thought Ning Bucuo had an agreement with me. Turns out, he just called dibs really loudly, and nobody challenged him. Honestly, brilliant move on my husband's part. But also, maybe don't wear new clothes to work every day when you're surrounded by jealous, hungry men who just found out you conned them. By the time Ning Bucuo showed up to work that day, the atmosphere had changed. Eyes were narrower. Fists were tighter. New clothes envy had officially evolved into full-blown rage. 5 guys surrounded him. You lied to us. You never had a deal with her. You tricked us into backing off. My husband, to his credit, didn't flinch. I told you I'd talk to her. That was true. You chose not to step up. That's on you. We would have stepped up if you hadn't claimed she already chose you. You believed me without checking? Sounds like a you problem. You were too proud to compete for an ugly woman. Now you're mad someone else got the prize? That's called regret, gentlemen. The man had nerve. Standing there in his nice clothes, well-fed, skin glowing, telling 5 starving guys that they played themselves. The audacity was magnificent. Stupid, but magnificent. They threatened to tell me. What if we tell he's Xiaowu you tricked her? She'll throw you and your little brat out. Ning Bucuo just laughed. Go ahead. We've been living together for weeks. She's not the type to swap husbands over old gossip. You missed your window. He was right and they knew it, which only made them angrier. You're not even that good-looking. You have a kid dragging you down. Why should you get to eat meat and wear new clothes? Someone grabbed his shirt. Then someone shoved. Then it was 5 against 1 in a full-on cow shed brawl. The good news. My husband had been eating real food for weeks. These guys were still running on cow shed rations. 5 malnourished intellectuals against 1 well-fed husband. The math wasn't as bad as it looked. The bad news. The supervisor woke up from his nap and caught all of them fighting. Everyone got punished with extra work, including Ning Bucuo. And Pretty Boy Yen?
He was long gone by then.
Nowhere near the scene. Clean hands, dirty heart. That snake had successfully started a fire and walked away whistling. He couldn't get the village to turn on me, couldn't get the red guards to take my husband, couldn't get the educated youth to seduce me. So he turned my husband's own people against him instead. I didn't find out about any of this until later. But when I did, let's just say Pretty Boy Yen had no idea what kind of enemy he was making. I survived death. I survived my family. I survived poverty and betrayal and 70 years of thankless suffering. A pretty face with a grudge about literacy classes? That's not a threat. That's a Tuesday. Ning Bucuo came home that night looking like a man confessing to murder. He sat me down and spilled everything. The fight, the cow shed guys finding out about his little con, the whole mess. Are you mad? He asked, searching my face for anger. I shrugged. Mad about what? I tricked them. I lied to get chosen. I'm not the honorable man you think I am. This poor fool thought I'd be upset? I'm a reborn 70-year-old who's seen every flavor of human treachery. A little strategic fibbing to escape a death camp? That's not deception. That's survival. It's called fate, I told him. If those guys had any real guts, they would have spoken up regardless. You knelt on rocks begging me. You think a man with that kind of determination isn't going to outmaneuver a bunch of cowards who couldn't even raise their hands? The relief on his face was almost funny. He'd been bracing for a storm, and instead got a weather report saying, partly sunny with zero chance of caring. And honestly, I was glad he was the sneaky type. A man who can scheme his way out of a cow shed is a man who can scheme his way through life. I didn't need a saint. I needed a survivor. Plus, let's talk about results. Since marrying him, I'd gotten a magic ring, a treasure cave, a handsome husband who does dishes, and a genius nephew who writes better than most adults. If he'd been honorable and let someone else go first, I might have ended up with some stiff-necked intellectual who'd spend all day complaining about his lost dignity while I serve him dinner. No thanks. Give me the schemer. The schemer hustles. I actually think you're my lucky charm, I said. Everything good started happening after we got engaged. He blinked. You really believe that? The evidence speaks for itself. But then we moved on to the real issue. Who was trying to destroy us? I laid out the facts. The Red Guard report. The cow shed fight. Someone was stirring the pot, and it wasn't random. It's not the villagers, I said. I'm making the money. They'd sooner protect me than report me. It's not my old political enemies, Ning Bucuo added. If someone wanted me dead, they'd target all the cow shed people, not just me. So who hates me specifically? We sat in silence for a minute thinking. Then Ning Bucuo said it. The educated youth. That teacher, Yen. Pretty
Boy.
Yen. It all clicked. The timeline, the motive, everything. I stole his audience. My basket-weaving classes emptied his literacy class. His teaching stipend and reputation were on the line. He confronted me about it, I told him to deal with it, and suddenly, Red Guards at my door. Cow shed guys at my husband's throat. This wasn't about politics. This wasn't about class enemies. This was about a pretty boy who couldn't handle being less popular than an ugly farm woman. He can't attack me directly, I realized. The whole village loves me right now. So he went after you instead. You're the weak point. The cow shed husband with the bad background. Easy target, Ning Bucuo nodded slowly. He probably went to the cow shed himself and told them about my trick. That's the only way they could have found out. We don't interact with villagers. Someone brought that information in. The snake. The absolute snake. I sat there, cracking sunflower seeds, chewing on fury. In my past life, I was a pushover. People schemed against me and I just took it. Took it for decades until it literally killed me. I told myself I wouldn't make trouble, wouldn't fight back, wouldn't be the difficult woman. And where did that get me? Dead in a rainstorm. This life is different. I swore I'd be selfish. I swore I'd protect what's mine. And Pretty Boy Yin had just put a target on my family. What do we do? Ning Bucuo asked. I cracked another seed. Smiled. Nothing yet. But the next time that Peacock makes a move, I won't be reacting. I'll be ready. Pretty Boy thought he was dealing with a dumb village woman. He had no idea he'd picked a fight with someone who'd already lived through the worst life could throw at her, and came back for round 2 with a magic ring and absolutely zero patience for nonsense. Sleep well, Teacher Yen. Enjoy those last peaceful nights. I wanted to fight him. Just walk up to Pretty Boy Yen, grab him by his perfectly groomed collar, and shake him until his teeth rattled.
Simple. Direct.
Satisfying. Ning Bucuo grabbed my arm before I could storm out. Xiaowu. No. He reported us. He turned the cow shed against you. I'm going to. Do what? Beat him up? Without proof? He's got half the village girls swooning over him. You show up throwing punches, and you become the villain. I hated that he was right. I hated it. In my past life, my strategy was simple. If someone wrongs you, show up at their door and scream for 3 days straight. Win or lose, at least they'd be too scared to mess with you again. But Ning Bucuo was playing a different game. A smarter game. He relies on those girls for his status, my husband explained calmly. Take away the girls, and he's nothing. We don't need to touch him, we just need to wreck his reputation. How? He came to the cow shed himself.
He talked to our people.
All we need is for one of those people to publicly thank him for that visit, right in front of the other educated youth. I blinked.
That's
evil. That strategy. The plan cost us 1 pound of sugar. 1 pound. That's all it took to convince the cowshed uncle to waltz into the youth camp at lunchtime, when everyone was eating together, and loudly thank Pretty Boy for his help. Comrade Yen, just wanted to say thanks for coming by the cowshed yesterday. That information you shared was really useful. Pretty Boy's face went white, then red, then a color I don't think exists in nature. I don't know you. I've never been to the cowshed. Sure you have. You came by yourself, asked about Ning Bucuo, had a nice chat. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone about our little arrangement, he said, arrangement, like they were business partners. In front of 30 educated youth, who were all now staring at Pretty Boy like he'd grown horns. Yen, you have connections with cowshed people? That's where you disappeared to yesterday afternoon. Is that why you came to the countryside? Did you know someone in the cowshed? Pretty Boy was spiraling. He tried to redirect. It's all Ning Bucuo. He set this up. He tricked Xiaowu into. Nobody cared. Nobody was listening to his gossip about my husband's romantic strategy. They were all laser-focused on one thing. Their handsome, popular, too good for this village teacher had been secretly visiting class enemies. In this era, associating with cowshed people is social poison. It doesn't matter if you went there to gossip or to plot or to borrow a cup of sugar. The association is the crime. And Pretty Boy had done it to himself. He walked into that cowshed with his own 2 pretty feet. The cowshed uncle delivered his final line with Academy Award precision. Well, I just wanted to express my gratitude. I won't bother you during your meal. Enjoy. Then he turned and left. Mission accomplished. 1 pound of sugar. Well spent. Pretty Boy stood there watching the uncle walk away, his carefully constructed village heartthrob persona crumbling in real time. Every youth at that table was already composing the gossip they'd spread by sundown. The beautiful irony? He tried to use the cowshed connection to destroy me, and now that same connection was destroying him. He picked up a sword and fell on it. That evening, I sat on my porch with Ning Bucuo, eating sunflower seeds, listening to the distant sound of village gossip traveling at the speed of light. Your plan worked, I admitted. Better than punching him. Slightly, I still would have preferred punching him. But watching Pretty Boy choke on his own medicine? That was pretty satisfying, too. My husband can't carry heavy things, can't plow a field, and can't cook rice. But when it comes to destroying someone's social life with surgical precision and 1 pound of sugar, the man is an artist. I married well. The gossip spread faster than wildfire. By sundown, every single person in the village knew. The handsome teacher, Yen, had secret connections with cowshed people. The effect was immediate and devastating. The village girls who used to blush at his smile?
Gone.
The young wives who dressed up for his classes? Vanished. The female educated youth who fought over him? Suddenly couldn't remember his name. In this era, being linked to cowshed people is like having a contagious disease. Nobody cares why you talk to them. The fact that you did is enough. People start wondering, is he a secret class enemy too? Is his family clean? Will associating with him get us in trouble? Pretty Boy went from village heartthrob to village pariah in 24 hours. The chief didn't waste time. He investigated, connected the dots in about 5 minutes, and figured out the whole picture. Yen reported me to the Red Guards, stirred up trouble in the cowshed, and had been actively sabotaging the village's most profitable resident because she stole his literacy class audience. The chief summoned Pretty Boy for a chat. You were told on day 1 not to interact with cowshed people. Explain yourself. I just bumped into one, and we chatted, wanting to check the handwriting on the report against Xiaowu, because I can. And once the villagers find out you try to take down their money-maker. Pretty Boy's face drained of color. He thought anonymous reports were untraceable. He thought he was clever. He did not think about handwriting analysis. The chief delivered the verdict. You're being transferred to Big River Village. Effective immediately. You can't do that. I can and I am. The other villages want to learn basket weaving from us. We're doing a knowledge exchange, sending one of ours, taking one of theirs. Congratulations, you're the one we're sending. Pretty boy panicked. He ran to his fan club, the girls who used to orbit him like lovesick satellites. Surely they would stand up for him?
Not a
single
one.
The girl who literally stole her boyfriend's teaching job to give it to Yen? She ran the other direction when she saw him coming. The village girls who brought him eggs and handkerchiefs. Suddenly very busy with their basket weaving. Everyone who once competed for his attention now competed to avoid eye contact. Turns out, Pretty Boy's entire social empire was built on sand. The girls liked his face, not his character. The moment his face came with baggage, they scattered like chickens from a hawk. He left the village alone. No farewell party.
No tearful goodbyes. No gifts.
Just one handsome, humiliated man walking down the road with his luggage, leaving behind a village that had already forgotten his name. When I found out, I was shocked. He got kicked out? I thought maybe he'd have to write an apology or something. Ning Bucuo just smiled that quiet, dangerous smile of his. Happy? I didn't even do anything. That's the point. You didn't have to. My husband, my skinny, book-reading, non-farming, can't-cook rice husband, had orchestrated Pretty Boy's entire downfall using nothing but 1 pound of sugar and 1 cooperative cow-shed uncle.
No screaming.
No fighting. No 3-day shouting matches at someone's front door. Just cold, precise, intellectual destruction. I thought about my past life, where my only weapon was my loud mouth. I'd yell at people until they backed down, and everyone called me a shrew. It worked sometimes, but it also made everyone hate me. Eventually, it got me kicked out of my own home. And here was Ning Bucuo, dismantling an enemy so quietly that I barely noticed it happening. No reputation damage.
No scenes. No collateral. Just
results. You're terrifying, I told him with genuine admiration. I learned from growing up in a complicated family, he said simply. I gave him a thumbs up, the highest honor I know how to give. I married a man who can't plow a field, but can plow someone's life into the ground without breaking a sweat. And, honestly, in this world, that might be the more useful skill. Sleep tight, pretty boy. Enjoy Big River Village. I hear their literacy class needs a teacher. The new educated youth who replaced Pretty Boy were interesting. Instead of teaching literacy or causing romantic drama, these ones were obsessed with going into the mountains. Every day, rain or shine, like squirrels with a treasure map. They said they were looking for valuable mushrooms. Some story about hearing at the town market that certain fungi were worth good money.
Sure.
Mushrooms. That's why you're hiking deep into mountains where even the village hunter barely goes. I had a sneaking suspicion about what they were really after. Remember that cave full of Japanese war treasure? The one I completely emptied with my magic ring? In my past life, the treasure was discovered around this time. These mushroom hunters were probably working off the same tip. Good luck finding what's already in my pocket dimension, fellas. But then things got serious. 2 of them went missing. Xiaowu, I need you for a search party, the chief said, showing up at my door. One of the missing people is a woman, so we need a female searcher. Translation, someone might need to be patted down, and a man can't do that to a woman. So they needed my big, capable, not at all squeamish self. I packed my basket with first aid supplies, bandages, herbal medicine, the works. Ever since getting married, I'd stocked up on basic medical stuff at home. Ning Bucuo couldn't see a doctor officially. Cowshed people don't get health care, remember. So we kept our own little pharmacy. I dropped Xiaowu at the chief's house. The chief was actually happy to take him. Turns out my genius nephew had been accidentally tutoring the chief's grandkids during playdates. The kids who used to be little terrors were now sitting quietly, learning characters. Xiaowu was running an underground preschool without even trying. Into the mountains we went, me, the chief, a few village guys, and Gawa the hunter. The complaints started immediately. Why do these city kids keep running into the mountains? There's nothing up there. They could be home weaving baskets and making actual money, but no, if they die up there, we have to carry them down. How is that fair? The conversation turned to treasure. One villager brought up the Japanese soldiers who passed through our area during the war. What if they left something behind? What if that's what these youth are really looking for? The chief was skeptical. Our village never had anything worth hiding treasure near, but my ears were burning. I knew exactly what treasure they were referring to, and I knew it was currently sitting in my magic cave, safe and sound. If these new youth were treasure hunters, they were about to have the most disappointing expedition in history. Should we report this to the authorities? Gawa asked. If there's real treasure, finding it would be a big deal. Report what? The chief said. We have zero evidence. Let's just find these idiots first. He told me and Gawa to quietly check the missing people's pockets when we found them. See if they were carrying any maps, notes, or clues about what they were really doing up here. Gawa, being an actual skilled hunter, spotted their trail almost immediately. Footprints in soft earth, broken twigs, disturbed undergrowth. The city kids moved through the forest like elephants in a library. We followed the trail and found them pretty quickly. They were hanging upside down from trees. Both of them, dangling like human piñatas, about 6 feet off the ground, caught in rope snare traps. Gawa coughed awkwardly.
So,
those are my dad's traps. He, set them to practice his technique. Must have forgotten to take them down. The whole search party went silent. Then someone snorted. Then someone else. And then we all lost it. 2 treasure-hunting educated youth, who thought they were going to find Japanese war gold in the mountains, had been caught in a hunting trap designed for animals that don't even live here anymore. They were hanging there, red-faced, terrified, covered in leaves, looking like the world's most pathetic Christmas ornaments. I tried not to laugh. I really did. But when you've lived 70 years and been reborn with a magic ring and a cave full of the exact treasure these fools were looking for, watching them dangle from a tree is just...
chef's kiss.
Karma doesn't always come slow. Sometimes it comes with a rope and a spring mechanism. So there we were, cutting down 2 dangling treasure hunters from a bear trap, when things took a sharp left turn. Gawa was patting down the guy while I handled the woman. Standard procedure. The chief had told us to check their pockets for clues. Gawa found a gun. He's got a weapon. Every single villager scattered like startled chickens. We may not have lived through the war, but we've all heard enough stories to know. When someone yells gun, you run. Relax, he's tied up, Gawa shouted, still frisking. Meanwhile, the woman I was searching started thrashing around. You can't touch me. I'll scream harassment. I'm a woman genius. What harassment? I smacked her on the butt to hold her still. And that's when I felt it. Something stiff under the fabric. Something that was not supposed to be in someone's pants. You've got something in your backside. She twisted and squirmed like a fish on a hook, but she was strung up in a hunting trap, and I'm built like a professional wrestler. She wasn't going anywhere. I reached in and pulled out a folded piece of paper. A map. And even I, the village's most famous illiterate, could tell something was very wrong with it. These characters aren't Chinese, the chief said, examining it. Not Chinese. Foreign writing. On a map. Hidden in the underwear region of a woman who came to our village pretending to be an educated youth looking for mushrooms. We hadn't found treasure hunters. We'd found spies. The mood shifted instantly. Everyone's eyes went hard. In this era, spies are the ultimate enemy. Catching them isn't just patriotic, it's a career move. Tie them up tight, the chief ordered. This is a major achievement. The guys who came along just to help search were suddenly heroes in a spy thriller. Everyone was buzzing with excitement. But as we headed downhill, my reborn brain kicked in. I grabbed the chief's arm.
Wait.
We can't go through the village. Everyone stopped. What if these 2 have accomplices in the village? If we parade 2 tied-up spies through town, their partners will see and bolt. Or worse, attack us to get the map back. We need to go around the village and straight to the police station. The chief slapped his own forehead. Why didn't I think of that? So we took the long way around, avoiding the village entirely. But here's the problem with the long way. It's long. By the time night fell, we still hadn't made it to the police station, and back in the village, people were freaking out. Our families had no idea what happened. All they knew was, a bunch of people went into the mountain to find 2 missing youth, and now nobody had come back. The village went into full panic mode. Ning Bucuo was going crazy at home. Nobody told him anything because he was cowshed people, not invited to important village discussions. He just sat there, staring at the door, waiting for me to walk through it. The village leaders debated all night.
Go into the mountain?
Too dangerous in the dark. Wait until morning? But what if someone's hurt? Send someone to the police? But nighttime travel. Finally, the chief's son remembered Ning Bucuo existed. He ran over to update him. And my clever husband, the man who can't farm but can think, immediately asked the obvious question nobody else had considered. Why not go to the police station now? The roads are flat and safe at night. By morning, the police can meet you at the mountain. The chief's son blinked, ran back to the village leaders.
Guys.
Why don't we just go now? Sometimes it takes a cowshed intellectual to point out what a dozen panicking farmers can't see. Send someone tonight. Police arrive by dawn. Problem solved. Meanwhile, I was somewhere on a dark mountain path, guarding 2 tied-up spies, carrying a foreign language treasure map, and thinking about how my quiet little village life had somehow turned into a war movie. All I wanted was a baby and some chickens. Instead, I got espionage. We made it off the mountain, borrowed a cart from the neighboring village, because catching spies is a community achievement and everyone wants credit, and hauled our 2 dangling prisoners to the police station before nightfall. The cops interrogated them all night. And boy, did the story get juicy. Turns out, the treasure in these mountains wasn't just Japanese war loot. There was a second stash, left behind by some ancient wealthy family for their descendants. The Japanese found part of it during the war, grabbed what they could, but had to flee before getting everything. Now they'd sent spies disguised as educated youth to finish the job.
Actual.
International. Espionage. In MY Little Village, where the most exciting thing that usually happens is someone's chicken escaping. There were also 2 more spies still hiding in the village. The cops got that out of the prisoners during the overnight interrogation. So our decision to bypass the village and go straight to the police? Genius. If we'd walked through town with 2 tied-up spies, their partners would have disappeared into the mountains like smoke. The next morning, the police captain, Captain Jean, showed us the treasure map. Everyone took turns studying it. When my turn came, I nearly collapsed with relief. It was pointing to a completely different location than my treasure cave. Let me repeat that. There was a second treasure. A different one. In a different place. My gold was safe. The universe was giving me a bonus level. Gawa the hunter squinted at the map. This looks familiar. Everyone's heads snapped toward him. You recognize it. I mean, I know these mountains better than anyone. Something about this layout feels right, but I can't place it. The chief slapped him on the head. Lovingly. Think harder. Captain Jean was practically vibrating with excitement. If they found the treasure, it would be a massive achievement for everyone involved. Career-making stuff. On the hike back into the mountains, Gawa was fantasizing out loud. If we find the treasure, are we going to be rich? The chief smacked his head again. It goes to the country, you donkey. We get a reward. Maybe. Don't get greedy. Can I at least dream? Dream about finding the location first. You can dream about money after. I decided to help move things along. Gawa, people usually hide treasure underground or in caves. Any weird caves up here, he thought. And thought. And then his eyes went wide. There are 2 big tombs deep in the ravine. I always thought it was weird. Who buries people in the middle of nowhere like that? But if they're not actually graves, if they're storage, bingo. The chief nearly slapped him again. You knew about mysterious tombs in the mountains and never mentioned it. I thought they were just graves. Eccentric rich people graves. I didn't think they were full of treasure, we told Captain Jean, who immediately redirected the search team. Everyone vaguely remembered those tombs. 2 big stone structures in a deep ravine that nobody ever visited because, well, who voluntarily hangs out near graves? But if those weren't graves at all, if they were underground vaults disguised as burial sites, then we'd just cracked the case. The soldiers were ready to dig. This era doesn't have much respect for ghost stories or disturbing the dead. You tell a squad of enthusiastic young soldiers there might be treasure under a fake grave, and they'll have shovels in the ground before you finish the sentence. Meanwhile, I was doing some quiet mental math. My treasure, safe in my magic cave. This new treasure, about to be dug up and handed to the government. Spy reward, coming soon to our village. Status as hero villagers who caught foreign agents. Priceless. I went into the mountains to find 2 lost mushroom pickers. I'm coming home a spy catcher with a potential national commendation. And somewhere in my secret pocket dimension, boxes of gold bars sat undisturbed, completely unrelated to any of this, quietly making me the richest, poor peasant, in the entire country. Life is good when you've got 2 treasures, and everyone only knows about one. The treasure hunt wrapped up without us. Once the military showed up, us villagers became spectators. All we saw was several truckloads of stuff being hauled away. Whatever was in those fake graves was apparently worth a lot, because the government was very grateful. How grateful? They gave our village work placement quotas. Real jobs. City jobs. Factory jobs. The kind of golden tickets that people would kill for. Everyone who went into the mountain got one, including me. A job at the textile factory. Steady salary. City residency. The dream of every village person in this entire country. For about 30 seconds, I was thrilled. Then my family showed up at my door like vultures who smelled a carcass. Give the job to your brothers, Mom demanded. Absolutely not. You can make money weaving baskets. Your brothers need this. If they become workers, you benefit too. The mental gymnastics this woman performs should qualify her for the Olympics. In what universe does giving away MY reward benefit me? Dad tried. You're a woman. You'll get pregnant and have to stop working anyway. Oh, now my reproductive plans are relevant? When you wanted me to be a free nanny for 7 kids, my womb didn't matter. But now that I have something you want, suddenly pregnancy is a disqualifying condition? I touched my belly. Was there a baby in there yet? Ning Bucuo and I had been working on it diligently. But babies don't come with tracking numbers. Here's my dilemma. The job was incredible. City residency, steady income, a legitimate cover for spending money from my secret gold stash. But if I took the factory job, I'd be in the city. Away from Ning Bucuo. Hard to make babies through walls. And babies were the whole point of this rebirth. My brain ran the calculation in about 3 seconds. Job equals important. Baby equals more important.
Fine.
I'll sell the quota. 500 yuan. The room went dead silent. 500. Mom nearly fainted.
Cash.
Up front. Not a cent less. We'll give you 200. Then I'll sell it to someone else. The educated youth have money. Some of them are practically throwing cash around. That scared them. The idea of an outsider getting this precious quota, a quota that came from their daughter, was unbearable. Mom tried guilt. I gave birth to you. Grandma raised me. You kicked me out. And Dad's not exactly winning any filial piety awards with Grandma either, so let's not play that card. Dad looked like he wanted to hit me. He'd been wanting to hit me since I was a kid, but Grandma always protected me. And now, I'm bigger than him. That ship has sailed. Mom tried bargaining. 400, 500. Final price. What about a payment plan? Some now, rest later from their salary. And oh, 2 letters. 1 word.
Case closed.
Here's what my family didn't know. In the current market, work quotas were selling for 800 to 1,000 yuan. I was giving them the family discount, and they were still trying to haggle. 500 yuan for a lifetime factory job with city residency? That's the deal of the century. I could sell this to any family in the village and have buyers lined up around the block. They knew it too. They looked at each other with that panicked expression of people who realize they're about to lose something they never deserved in the first place. I crossed my arms and waited.
500 yuan.
Not a cent less. Some people think being family entitles them to your success. In my past life, I believed that too. I gave everything, my youth, my labor, my entire life, and got nothing back but a rainy death in a ditch. This life? Family gets the same deal as everyone else. Maybe even worse, because at least strangers don't pretend they're doing me a favor by taking my things. Pay up or get out. Xiaowu is closed for charity. The job quota saga ended exactly how I planned. My family scraped together 500 yuan from every relative and neighbor they could find, and bought my work placement. The whole clan mobilized like it was a military operation. Borrowing money is easy when you can prove you'll have a factory salary to pay it back.
500 yuan.
In my pocket. For something that was worth at least 800 on the open market. I basically gave them a family discount, and they still complained the whole time. Whatever. I had bigger things going on. The treasure discovery had put our village on the map. The basket weaving business exploded, more orders, more villages sending people to learn, more demand than we could handle. I was teaching nonstop, practically running a rural craft academy. And that's when the little monster showed up.
Mubaodzia.
The reborn brat. My dead sister's eldest son. The 9-year-old who threw me out of my house in another lifetime. He'd come to my parents' place with his brothers for a visit, and naturally found his way to where I was teaching. He's Xiaowu. Where did you learn this craft? No, Annie. No, hello. Just my bare name, barked at me like I was his servant. Same disrespectful little punk in every timeline. I smacked the back of his head. It's Annie to you, you rude little goblin. Then he hit me with the most audacious request I've heard in 2 lifetimes. Auntie, your stepmom replacement sucks. Can you make my dad get a new one? Actually, since you can't have kids anyway, why don't I just become your son? I'm sorry, what? This child, who hated me in our past life, who led the campaign to throw me into the streets, who celebrated when I suffered, was now asking to be my adopted son? Because his new stepmom couldn't cook? The audacity. The absolutely breathtaking audacity. My hand moved before my brain could stop it. Smack. One crispy slap right across his face. You hit me. His eyes were the size of dinner plates. In our past life, I never once raised a hand to these kids. I took every insult, every slight, every betrayal with quiet suffering. Those days are over, sweetheart. You curse me, saying I can't have children. Who raised you? I have a husband and a home. Of course I'll have kids. You won't. You never could, he screamed back, not realizing he was basically admitting he had memories of our past life. I wound up for round 2, but the little rat dodged. Smart. He learned faster than I expected. The village aunties didn't care about the slapping. They zeroed in on the real gossip. The new stepmom was terrible. Wait, the boy says his stepmother is bad. Ears perked up across the entire teaching area. Mom suddenly looked worried. Baojia, what do you mean she's not good? And then this kid unleashed a full performance review of Qian Shuren's stepmothering abilities. She can't cook. Everything is half raw. She can't clean. The house is disgusting. She can't take care of the baby. He cries all day because she doesn't know what she's doing. And now she wants to move to the city with dad and leave US behind. The village women gasped collectively. A stepmom who can't cook, clean, or handle children. In rural China? That's like hiring a farmer who's allergic to dirt. Mom went pale. She really can't do any of those things. A village auntie dropped the truth bomb. Aihua, when that girl lived at your house, did you ever see her do housework? Mom's face told the whole story. We didn't ask her to help. She was a guest. Translation. They were so dazzled by her, educated city girl, status that nobody bothered checking if she could boil water. They married off a woman who'd been served her whole life and expected her to suddenly become a domestic superhero for 7 children. I stood there eating this drama up like it was a 5-course meal. Remember when everyone said I was crazy for refusing to marry into the Mu family? Remember when they said the educated youth girl won by snagging the worker husband? Remember, many sons, many blessings? Well, those blessings were now eating half-raw food in a filthy house while their baby brother screamed and their stepmother planned her escape to the city. Meanwhile, at MY house, stone floors, hot meals, a clean yard, a genius nephew, a husband who helps with chores, and chickens laying eggs every morning. Who won now, Mom? The aunties told Mom to go train the new daughter-in-law. Teach her to cook. Teach her to clean. Teach her to be a human being, basically. Good luck with that. You can't teach someone who thinks they married up to suddenly act like a servant. That girl thought she was getting a cushy life. Instead, she got 7 hungry wolves and a kitchen she doesn't know how to use. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then I remembered Mu Baojia's smug little face saying, "This life will be so much better without you," and my sympathy evaporated completely. Enjoy your half-cooked rice, kid.
You picked this timeline.
I wasn't there for this one, but the Village Gossip Network is better than any live broadcast. Every juicy detail made it back to me within hours. So Mom rushed to the Mu household the same day, dragged along by her precious grandson's complaints. She walked in and immediately heard a baby screaming. Found the youngest kid wailing on the bed while Qian Shuren sat at the mirror, calmly brushing her hair like she was getting ready for a magazine cover. "The baby is crying and you're doing your hair?" Mom shrieked. Qian Shuren didn't even turn around, just kept brushing and dropped the coldest line imaginable. "Not my kid. Whoever made it can worry about it. I mean, she's not wrong." But saying it out loud? To your mother-in-law's mother? Bold move, city girl. Bold move. Here's what happened. Qian Shuren tried. She genuinely tried for about 2 days. Cooking, cleaning, child wrangling, the full domestic package. But here's the thing about caring for 7 kids who aren't yours. No matter what you do, it's wrong. Cook a meal? This tastes terrible. Clean a house? You missed a spot. Try to comfort the baby? You're doing it wrong. Sound familiar? Because that was my entire first life. Decades of thankless labor, criticized at every turn, never good enough for kids who weren't mine. The difference? I suffered in silence for years before breaking. Qian Shuren lasted 2 days before going nuclear. "I'm not doing any of it," she declared. And she meant it. Stopped cooking. Stopped cleaning. Stopped everything. Let the kids fend for themselves. And you know what? The kids did start doing things themselves. Proof that they could have been helping all along, but just didn't want to. I could have told you that from personal experience, but nobody asked me last time. Mom tried threatening, "I'll have Weigwa divorce you." Qian Shuren laughed in her face. "Go ahead. I'll make a scene at his workplace. This isn't ancient times. You can't just dismiss a wife." Mom switched to sweet talking. "Just be patient, dear. Once the boys grow up, they'll be so grateful." And that's when Qian Shuren said the thing that made my reborn soul sing. "Grateful? These aren't my biological kids. You think they'll remember what I did for them? I'm not raising a bunch of ingrates." She called them white-eyed wolves. She used my exact words. This woman had been a stepmom for 2 weeks and already figured out what took me an entire lifetime to learn. Then she went for the kill shot. "You knew the Mu family was a trap. That's why you made sure your daughter didn't marry in. You pushed me into this pit instead," Mom stammered. "Xiaowu just didn't have good judgment." "And oh, judgment? She married a cowshed guy and lives better than me. She has a clean house, a husband who helps, and nobody screaming at her. I'm the one with no judgment." Standing ovation from my soul. The woman finally saw the truth. The Mu family wasn't a prize. It was a trap. 2 worker salaries sounds great until you realize 7 growing boys eat money faster than you can earn it. No field work sounds like luxury until you realize housework for 9 people is harder than farming. And the funniest part? Mom told her the same thing she told me. Many sons, many blessings. Just endure it. Qian Shuren's response was basically, "Bless this," followed by a door slam. Somewhere in the afterlife, my past self was doing a victory lap. Everything I predicted was coming true. The cooking failures. The resentment. The realization that being a stepmom to 7 kids is a lifetime prison sentence disguised as a marriage. And little Mu Baojia, my reborn nemesis? The kid who thought switching stepmoms would fix everything? He was now living in a dirty house, eating half-raw food, watching his baby brother cry while his new, upgraded, mother ignored everyone to brush her hair. How's that better life working out for you, kid? I went home, kissed my clean stone floors, hugged my well-fed nephew, and thanked whatever God gave me the brains to say. And oh, when everyone said yes, best decision.
2
lifetimes. I heard about this whole scene secondhand, but it was so vivid I could practically watch it play out like a movie. Mom stormed over to the Mu household, ready to whip Qian Shuren into shape. She walked in to find the house looking like a tornado had swept through, a baby screaming its lungs out, and the new stepmom sitting pretty at her mirror, brushing her hair like she was preparing for a portrait session. Mom tried threats. Fix this, or I'll have Weigwa divorce you. Qian Shuran. Go ahead. I'll burn down his career. Mom tried guilt. These are your children now, Qian Shuran. I didn't give birth to a single one of them. Their mother did. Oh wait, she's dead. Not my problem. Mom tried reasoning. Just learn. I'll teach you, Qian Shuran. Why would I learn? Just teach the kids to take care of themselves. The 9-year-old can't even cook rice? What have you people been doing? This woman was made of steel. Cold, unyielding, absolutely zero maternal instinct steel. And honestly, part of me respected it. She figured out in 2 weeks what I couldn't figure out in 2 decades. These kids were never going to appreciate you, so why destroy yourself trying? Of course, she took it to the extreme. She literally only cooked for herself. 7 hungry kids in the house, and she'd make 1 portion, sit down, eat it, and walk away. That's not boundary setting. That's psychological warfare. Mom couldn't budge her. Not with threats, not with sweet talk, not with guilt. Qian Shuran had one argument, and she wielded it like a sword. You knew this family was a trap. That's why your own daughter ran. You fed me to the wolves instead, and Mom had a no comeback. Because it was true. So Mom did what Mom does best. She rolled up her sleeves and cleaned the house herself. Cooked meals. Washed clothes. Took care of the baby. Because someone had to, and the actual stepmom had declared a permanent strike. But here's where it got heartbreaking, and I say this as someone who hates the Mu family kids. When Mom tried to leave the next morning, the children lost it. Grandma, don't go. All of them. Every single one. Clinging to her legs, grabbing her hands, wrapping around her like tiny, desperate octopuses. The littlest one sat on the ground and locked his arms and legs around her ankle like a human shackle. These kids, motherless, neglected by their new stepmom, with a father who came home maybe 3 days a month, had tasted 2 days of actual care from their grandmother, and they were not letting go. Grandma, I want to go home with you. Grandma, please stay. Grandma, don't leave us. Mom couldn't move. Literally. She was pinned to the floor by 6 weeping children while the 7th, baby, screamed from the bedroom. She looked at Qian Shuran for help. Qian Shuran was examining her fingernails. Baojia, Mom called to the eldest, the reborn brat, the 9-year-old who supposedly had the wisdom of a past life. Help me. Hold your brothers. Even I, sitting at home a whole village away, felt a tiny pang. Tiny, like a mosquito bite of sympathy. These kids were living my past life in reverse. Last time, they had me, an ugly, uneducated, but hardworking stepmom who gave them everything. They took it for granted and threw me away. Now they had a pretty, educated stepmom who gave them nothing, and they were discovering exactly what they lost.
Karma, kids.
It doesn't always wait until you're old. Mom was trapped. She couldn't take them all home. Her household would revolt. She couldn't stay. She had her own life. And she couldn't make Qian Shuran care because you can't force motherhood on someone who never signed up for it. The Mu family was imploding. And somewhere in my cozy little house with stone floors and a full pantry, I was sipping tea, petting my chickens, and feeling absolutely, positively, magnificently vindicated. You wanted the better stepmom Baojia? You got her. Enjoy. The Mu family soap opera continued without me, but the gossip pipeline kept me fully updated. It was like having a subscription to the most entertaining drama series in rural China. So Mom couldn't leave. The kids literally anchored her to the floor with their tiny bodies. She had to fake them out. Grandma's staying, don't worry. Wait for them to relax, then sneak out the back while the neighbor lady distracted them. Classic grandma escape maneuver. Works on toddlers everywhere. But before she could make her getaway, she needed to vent. And vent she did, to the neighbor lady, Mrs. Wei, who'd had a front row seat to the Mu family disaster for weeks. What followed was the most comprehensive roast of Qian Shuran ever delivered on a neighbor's porch. She can't cook, sip of tea, she won't clean. Angry gesture, the baby cries and she just sits there, Slapsney, she spends all day primping for who? Her husband isn't even home. Is she dressing up for the chickens? She wants the children to serve her. Who does she think she is, an empress? Mrs. Wei nodded along to every single complaint like she was watching a sermon. If only your daughter had married in. None of this would have happened. Oh, wouldn't that be ironic? The same daughter you all mocked for being ugly and unmarriageable is now everyone's fantasy stepmom. Sorry, that position has been permanently filled by a cowshed husband, a genius nephew, and absolutely zero regrets. Mom finally managed her escape by handing the kids off to Mrs. Wei and heading for the door. But waiting at the village entrance, like a tiny, scheming toll booth operator, was Mu Baojia. The reborn brat had predicted the fake-out. While his little brothers fell for the grandma's staying trick, this 9-year-old with a past life's worth of manipulation experience positioned himself at the only exit route. Where are you going, Grandma? To the city to talk to your father. His eyes lit up. Take me with you. I'm going for serious business. I can help. Dad listens to me. This kid. He'd been reborn with all his memories, and instead of using that knowledge to be a better person, he was using it to manipulate every adult within arm's reach. Classic Baojia. On the cart ride to town, he played his hand. Grandma, can't you get rid of the stepmom? I want Auntie Xiaowu to be our new mom instead. Mom's face did that thing where embarrassment and regret have a fist fight behind your eyes. Your aunt is already married, Baojia. And your stepmom has a legal marriage certificate. It's not that simple, but Auntie Xiaowu would take care of us. She's not lazy-like. Enough. Don't say that again. The delicious irony was thick enough to spread on bread. In his past life, Baojia hated me, called me evil, led the charge to throw me out, celebrated my misery. And now, reborn with full memories, he was begging for me back. But here's the thing he didn't understand and might never understand. I wasn't good to those kids because I was a saint. I was good to them because I was a fool. A fool who thought love could be earned through sacrifice. A fool who believed that if she just tried hard enough, 7 ungrateful children would eventually call her Mom and mean it. That fool died in a rainstorm picking wild vegetables. The woman who replaced her? She's at home right now, teaching a village full of people how to weave money out of grass, while her handsome husband helps with dinner and her genius nephew practices calligraphy by lamplight. You want me back, Baojia?
Sorry.
That version of me is out of stock. Permanently discontinued.
Naughty funds. Go talk to your dad.
I'm sure he'll figure something out. Or he won't. Either way, not my circus, not my 7 monkeys.